How the hell are you guys doing? It is an impromptu live stream, and that simply means unplanned, not prepared. I just wrapped up some network promos in my voiceover booth, and I thought, you know what? I have some time. Why not jump on here and talk to the fine folks of the world? And, yeah, it is 7:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this Tuesday, April the 2nd, 2019. I know, I look like, I should be Robin Banks. Is that better? Woo! Wow! Yeah, that's better. I guess that's all right. I'll have to put on my glasses in just a minute. I'm rocking out the hood today. So how the hell are you guys? How the hell are you guys? Yes, the Unabomber. Yes, that's right, I am. I am Ted Kaczynski. I am the Unabomber. Where's my shack? You think that's what he was like? When he was in his shack, he was just like... That was awful, though. In all sincerity, that was. I mean, that's an awful. He's one of the you know, the epic sort of fucking, well, serial killers, I guess, at the end of the day. But anyway, yeah, so too much sugar. No, see, that's the misconception, ladies and gentlemen, that it's too much sugar, or it's too much coffee, or it's cocaine. Folks, I am a performer. I am high on life. That's what it is. I do not drink coffee. I hate the taste of coffee. I have not had a coffee in probably about, actually, I can tell you the last coffee I had. It was on my way back to college after the Christmas break. Oh, or maybe it was Thanksgiving break. One of the two. Anyway, and my mother and I stopped at a Denny's. And I was, she had a coffee and I had a coffee. And I don't know why. I hate coffee. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Dave, it's Denny's coffee. That's why I hate it. No, I've had it all. I've had Starbucks coffee. I've had Denny's coffee. I've had Tim Hortons coffee, for those of you here in Canada. I don't like coffee. I've never liked the taste of coffee. I just don't like it. I think it's garbage. I just don't, I just don't like it. So it's definitely not coffee. It's just me high on life. Hey, check this out. Rambo! Yeah, that's the real deal, folks. That's the real deal. That is a real... Hear that? Yeah, that's the real deal. This is sharp as fuck, as they say. And Rambo 5 is coming out this... oh, it's got a few marks on it. Kind of pisses me off. Don't you hate that when you get marks on something? You're like, what the fuck? Why is there some marks there? It'll probably come off, actually. It just needs to be cleaned. But, yeah, this is good shit. And Rambo 5 comes out later this, it's this fall, is it not? I think it is. Anyway, or this could be Crocodile Dundee. Paul Hogan. That's not a knife. No, that's a knife. It's like Freddy Krueger. Can you imagine if Freddy Krueger had knives? Somebody's got to make a glove. Of course, it would probably be really heavy. Somebody's got to make a glove where every finger is knives like that. Seriously, it's just 4 knives all along like that. Can you imagine? It's like super Freddy. It's like Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, but it's Super Freddy. And so instead of Super Shredder, you know how Michelangelo was like, it's Super Shredder, whoa, dude. It's like, it's Super Freddy, what the fuck? And he's like all fucking jacked with these kind of knives. Woo! Somebody's got to fucking get on that. Somebody's fucking got to get on that. And then there's that. So there's that fucking knife right there. But you know what? Let's take it a step further. Let's take it, not that that's not some fucking juicy shit, but let's take it a step further. Let's take it a step further. All right. This is a real machete. This is a real machete. This is pretty cool. I picked this up at a fan expo here in Toronto a couple years ago. So this is pretty cool. This is like a Walking. I think it was in the Walking Dead section or something. And I'm not a Walking Dead fan. I haven't seen an episode. It's not that I don't think it would be good. I just don't watch it. But I liked the design of the machete. So, and it's real too, 100%. Like it could tear some shit up. But let's not stop there, shall we? Let's go further. Let's go further all the way to, oh yeah, samurai sword, baby. Bet you guys didn't think I had shit like this in my fucking studio, right? No, I do. I have shit like this in my studio. This is a katana blade, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the real deal. All real shit. I like that kind of stuff. So yeah, let me just put this sucker back in here. There we go. Now you're probably wondering, Dave, why on earth would you need a Rambo knife, a machete, and a fucking ninja sword? Well, I'm telling you, for you Americans, you may think Canada's a nice and cozy and warm place, but there's fucking zombies all over the place. Gotta protect yourselves. You go to bed at night, and you're lying there at night, and this is what you hear outside. And you're lying there in bed, and you're like, what the fuck? The fuck is going on? And they're trying to get in, right? They're trying to get in through the doors, and the doors start to rattle, and the walls start to rumble, and the floor starts to shake, and you're getting up at like 2:30 in the morning, and you're like, and you just start chopping shit up. Welcome to Canada. That should be the name of the show. There's the show right there. If I was in front of some television executives at Netflix, I would be like, there's the show. Let's just do a fucking satirical show called Welcome to Canada. Get rid of all the stereotypes. And just fucking ninjas people all the fucking place. We're tearing shit up. Canada's full of zombies, man. I'm always having trouble getting this back in. Anyway, pretty cool stuff. I bet a lot of you guys didn't know that I had all that shit. So, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. Let me see here. We got a super chat coming in from iPimp Trolls. Thank you, iPimp Trolls. He says, let's talk Godzilla. We always talk horror. Well, Godzilla is kind of horror a little bit, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about traditional horror. What are your thoughts on the TV spots so far? Also, do you think they will continue making Godzilla movies after Godzilla vs. King Kong? Well, I got to tell you, iPimp Trolls, I have actually thoroughly enjoyed the marketing for Godzilla. Well, no, but you know what? I really liked the marketing of the 2014 Godzilla film. Because for those of you that are big Godzilla fans, you'll know that the original inception of Godzilla was actually quite serious. I mean, it's a sort of a cheesy movie now in terms of its execution. I'm talking about the original 1954 Japanese version, not the 56 Americanized version with Raymond Burr, although I am a big Raymond Burr fan. Good Canadian guy. But that being said, the theme spitting like a fucking madman. I'm always spitting. What the fuck's going on? Straight vodka. Hey, listen. So I've always been a big fan of the original intent of that movie and sort of the metaphor of what Godzilla was, right? He was a metaphor, if you know your Godzilla history, of course, because of the nuclear fallout, because of what the United States did to Japan and the whole thing. It's very deep. It's very deep in terms of its themes and its message and its metaphor. And that was sort of, I really enjoyed that angle to it. Now, that doesn't mean that Godzilla movies have to have that angle to it. But when the 2014 movie came out, I was really, it had that very serious sort of tone to it, almost as if they were going back to that kind of thing a little bit. But the execution was just shitty. It was just, I didn't care about any of the characters. And when you're not going, and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, when you're not going to show your main protagonist, or antagonist, I should say, sorry, on screen, you want to do the Jaws thing, right? And dangle the carrot. That's totally cool. But then you better make sure that your protagonists are people we can care about and we can root for, because we need something to glom onto emotionally when the big baddie's not on screen, and Godzilla had none of that. So that was really unfortunate. So now you fast forward to Godzilla 2, essentially, and I really have enjoyed the marketing, because this just looks like, it's just like, okay, we're not going to do that. We're just going to, it's not that they're not going to have some political themes in there. A Godzilla movie always does. But it definitely looks like it's balls to the wall, fucking epic, monster, big titan, like the kind of thing you want when you go to see a movie like that. So I Pimp Trolls, I've thoroughly enjoyed the marketing for it, and I'm excited to go see it, because Godzilla is my favorite monster of all time. And when Godzilla vs. King Kong comes out next year, which I think kind of in reality is a little hilarious, because in reality, although this is not reality, in reality, Godzilla would destroy King Kong. But anyway, so I'm definitely Team Godzilla, but will they make more after Godzilla vs. Kong? Well, you know, it all depends on how good this movie is and how good Godzilla vs. King Kong is. And if they're both actually pretty good, like they don't just make a lot of money, they're going to make a lot of money. I mean, those types of films always do. But if they're actually pretty good, then I don't see why they wouldn't continue. There's a lot of different monsters that you could have Godzilla go up against, and a lot of different scenarios for which you could justify why he needs to be around. And something I find interesting is that Godzilla, from some of the TV spots, you kind of get the idea that he's a good guy, right? Because King Ghidorah or King Ghidorah, you know, and Mothra and Rodan, they all sort of, they're already there, and it's kind of like they need Godzilla to get rid of them, kind of thing, right? So that kind of makes me wonder, well, is Godzilla still going to be the good guy in Godzilla versus King Kong and Kong the baddie? I don't know. We'll see. Great question, though. Oh, man. Yeah, we're having some fun here today, folks. Hey, some people have asked me about what I shoot my short films on. Well, it varies. Sometimes I rent cameras. I've shot on the Red. I've shot on mostly DSLRs, because you can shoot on full-frame DSLRs today and get amazing quality. And remember, 9 times out of 10, okay, it's not really what, I mean, yes, what you shoot on can certainly help. If I'm shooting on like an Alexa or a Red as opposed to like a Canon T3i or something, I mean, yeah, of course, you're going to notice a difference. But at the end of the day, like that fan film that I uploaded back in the fall that I shot with my buddy Bruce, that was just shot on my phone. Where the hell is my phone? It's around here somewhere. It's around here somewhere. Anyway, the Galaxy S9 Plus, that whole thing was shot on that. So a lot of people, like, you know, I get asked, oh my God, it looks so great. What did you shoot it on? It's like, okay, well, I shot it on this. And they're like, oh, you shot on that? Like, yeah, because you have to understand that a lot of, you know, the way a movie looks is the result of post-production and color correction and, certain filters that you might put in, and lighting as well. Not just what you shoot on, but the actual lighting and how you light your space when you're shooting, right? And then, of course, you need something that's really well lit, and then you can take that, and there's enough information in your clip or in your shot to put it into your timeline or put it into After Effects or, whatever you need to do, and adjust the contrast a bit to kind of complement it. But the base should always be there. Don't ever rely on filters to make your movie look like a movie. It certainly can help it, but yeah, so the point I was making is that 9 times out of 10, unless I'm shooting something a bit higher scale, I'll just shoot on a couple of DSLRs, right? I've shot on the Canon Mark II, the Canon Mark III, which are full frame cameras. And of course, I'll use my rig here. If I'm doing some Steadicam shots, I will try and just use this, which is just my rig, which is what I use when I want to do some Steadicam shots and follow some people around, or whatever the case is. I will just use this. And of course, you just attach your DSLR here. You can attach a full frame camera here as well. And you got your monitor up here, and away you go. This is what I essentially use for my fan film Halloween the Night He Came Back. And it's awesome, and it works great. And yeah, so anybody who wants to get out there and shoot using a Steadicam that's not really a Steadicam, that's one way to go. And you can purchase rigs like that nowadays relatively inexpensively, and they can help you to get some really nice, smooth sort of shots, you know, and that's all I use. And like I said, you can attach full frame cameras to that. You can attach your, you know, Canon what are they up to now? T7i or whatever, you know, those introductory Canon cams. So yeah, I mean, really at the end of the day, folks, just get out and shoot. Shoot on your phone, you know, be conscious of the angles, be conscious of your lighting, okay? And remember to not always shoot from far away and, you know, all that kind of jazz, but you can shoot a movie on your phone. I think, what's his face? Soderbergh, right? He shot a movie, or he shot a couple of movies, or at least one movie or something in the last year or so, completely on an iPhone. I forget what the movie was called. Chat room, let me know what the hell that was called. But yeah, like nowadays, it's way different. Guys, when I was a teenager, growing up in the early to mid 90s, I would have given anything, and people who are my age, you know what I'm talking about. We would have given anything to have what the kids have today. Like it's on the, just be able to actually digitally edit. My buddy and I Bruce and I, there we go, that's better. Back in the 90s, we were editing VCR to VCR. Like that's what we would do. We would shoot on VHS, and then we would take that and then pop it into VCR. We'd have to like VCR to VCR and edit. Like it was insane. And nowadays, kids, you don't know what you got, kids. Holy shit. Why aren't you kids out there making fucking movies? I would have given anything to have a camera that was a phone and a computer in my pocket. But anyway. What do we got here? Chris Manley, 1994, says, "Hey Dave, at 25 years old, I've just got done watching The Terminator for the first time, and I loved it. I'd love to know your thoughts on it." Yeah, the first Terminator has grown on me over the years. When I first watched it about 25 years ago, probably when you were just a baby, you know, that kind of thing. That sounded like a baby who was choking on something. But when you were a baby, I watched it probably for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. But I didn't, no, sorry. I watched it, the first time I watched it, I didn't really enjoy it, sorry. And it wasn't until after T2 came out, which was already out, I think, at that time, but after I sort of revisited the original Terminator probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and it's actually grown on me because I can appreciate what Cameron was doing more now. I don't think I was mature enough to appreciate it 25, 30 years ago, obviously, because 30 years ago I would have been 10. So, I mean, I really sort of appreciate it much more now. And it's unfortunate that Cameron didn't go off and... The third Terminator film really should have come out in like 94, 95. You know what I mean? But Cameron was busy doing True Lies, you know? But anyway, yeah, no, I like it. I absolutely like it. Johnny Flame says, "Who's your favorite director?" My favorite director of all time is Steven Spielberg. And the reason for that is not because I think he necessarily is... The reason why I like Spielberg a lot is because, not because of anything really sort of like... Most of his movies are not particularly deep, although they do have several... There's some films that have some meaningful themes. But he changed the face of cinema, and he changed the way we experience entertainment. He changed the way that movies were made. And if it wasn't for a Spielberg, we wouldn't have a lot of the things that we have. And a lot of the, there are a lot of filmmakers today working at the Hollywood level that were inspired by him and his movies. And you have to remember, folks, it's not just the movies he directed, okay? It's the movies he's helped produce and bring to light. You have to remember that. You can look at his filmography in terms of directing, but also look at the movies he's helped produce, whether it's Gremlins, whether it's Back to the Future, whether it's Poltergeist. Some people really actually think he directed that movie. But there's all sorts of things, of films and projects that he's been attached to. Don't think of the Spielberg of the last 10 years or so, where things have just gotten way out of hand in terms of entertainment and films. Go back to when he was extremely impactful in the mid to late 70s, all through the 1980s, and certainly through most of the 1990s. And he changed cinema. He changed it with Jaws. He changed it again with E.T. He changed it again with Jurassic Park. And everything in between. So and whenever I hear him speak, and whenever I hear him interviewed, his not necessarily just directing sensibilities, but his filmmaking sensibilities and his understanding of the business and the art of filmmaking. And he's not the only one, of course, but I really resonate with what he says, and I agree with most of what he says. Not everything, but most of what he says. Dave, you look serious in a hoodie. Yes, Jane, I am. And if you just tuned in, you missed all the goodies I was showing. You'll have to watch at the beginning, or you have to go back and watch the beginning of the stream. I was showing a ninja sword, man. Look at this fucking thing. Can you imagine? What would you guys do? What would you guys do if you heard a bump in the night? Okay, you heard a bump in the night. All right, you go to your front door. You open your front door and it's quiet, okay? It's very quiet. And all you hear is just the crickets in the distance, okay? And maybe you hear like an owl, and you're like, and then you hear like a tree branch. And you're like, who is that? Who is it? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, jumps this little creature. It's like this creature. And he's got this big, gigantic sword, and he's like, and then, as quickly as he jumps in, he's off into the bushes. What the fuck would you guys do? Comment and let me know. I want to know what you guys would do. Can you fucking imagine? You're there, standing in your doorway, and all of a sudden, this little creature runs in, is like, and then takes off faster than you can say police brutality. That's a line from Vacation with Chevy Chase. If you guys haven't seen that, it's fucking awesome. What would you guys do? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Fucking comment right now and let me know. Shoot him! The skipper says shoot him. Yes, but maybe you don't have time. He's this little creature and he's like, and then he goes off into the bushes and you're like, what the fuck was that? Jim Dorsey said, Dave, are you on coke tonight? No, I don't do cocaine. Ladies and gentlemen, I am high on life. I'm an actor. Let's not forget that, folks. I can get crazy as quickly as I can get very serious. And that's just the way it is. And I'm really sorry you feel that way, but unfortunately, I've got to go. I can turn it on very quickly. Anyway, I know you are. Hey, let's see here. Give him a kiss. Oh, you'd give him a kiss. But what happens if he goes off into the bushes and all you hear is like he's growing, and you see like things start to pop out of his shoulder, and he's like, and then another arm begins to come out, and he's getting crazy. He's getting really insane. He's like, and just, can you imagine? Fuck, you'd be sitting there going, what the fuck is going on, man? I wouldn't know. Hey, let's take some questions. Let's see here. Walt McAlexander says, hey, Dave, in the original Halloween, why did Myers miss Laurie when he came out of the darkness behind her and tried to stab her? Why did Myers miss Laurie when he came out of the darkness behind her and tried to stab her? What do you mean? He stabbed her. What scene are you talking about? What scene are you talking about? I want to know. Because he stabbed her. That's why she's got the cut on her arm. Maybe I'm missing a scene. I don't know. It's been haven't watched it since Halloween. Dave. Matthew Triplet says, Dave, what's your favorite movie? My favorite movie. Too many to name. Too many. I really don't know. Too many to name. Way too many to name. Jane says, that sounds scary. You mean the creature, like he's in the bushes and you're standing there. Like, picture that. A creature just came out of nowhere with a fucking huge ninja sword. A tiny little creature like the size of Elf, Gordon Shumway from the 1980s. And he's like, and he runs off into the bushes. It's like a fucking Star Wars character, man. Just runs off into the bushes. You don't know what's going on. And then you hear in the bushes. It's like, what the fuck? Man, that's crazy. So then you go back into your house. You go back into your house and you grab your fucking Rambo knife. And you go out there and you're like, come on. And you hear, and you're like, what the fuck? And you realize it's your neighbor. Let's see here. Julian Salgado, am I saying that right? Thoughts on the Joker trailer dropping tomorrow? Excited? Optimistic, because I think Joaquin Phoenix was a good choice. And I'm not, even though I know Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do, although he says he doesn't do sequels, okay. I don't fully buy that. I mean, I buy that this is a standalone. But I don't buy that somewhere along the lines, Warner Brothers isn't sort of hoping at least a little bit that this Joker movie and the Batman movie will not cross paths in the future. And now they're sort of inconspicuously starting from scratch without telling anybody, if you know what I mean. That's the sense that I'm getting. I bet you a lot of you people have sort of thought that as well. So I'm cautious. I'm optimistic because I think he's a good choice for that character, but I have no idea what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Or how it's going to all go down. Let's see here. Corey Dean says, how about Mark Hamill as Chucky? I got a video on that, Corey. I got a video on it. It's the video before this live stream. Check it out. I talked 20 minutes about it. Oliver Mercer says, hey, Dave, have you seen the film Fracture with Anthony Hopkins? It's a very smart film. Plus, what are your thoughts on the Hannibal Lecter films? I have not seen that movie. I know the movie you are talking about. I have only seen the first Silence of the Lambs. I've only seen that one. I have heard mixed feelings on the other two, Hannibal and Red Dragon, I think it is. So I have yet to see those. Well, that's not entirely true. I've seen bits and pieces of them, but not in its entirety. I liked Silence of the Lambs, although I haven't watched it in quite some time. Chris Baber, Super Chat. Chris, you're awesome. If I had a chance to direct H3, H5, or H6, if had a chance to direct H3, H5, or H6, which would you pick, and what would be your direction? Well, I would probably go with H5, and I would, very briefly as I possibly can, I would completely erase everything they did in Halloween 5, and I would simply take the end of Halloween 4 as my starting point, and I would give the illusion that there is this undertone through the movie that Jamie is going to become the killer. She never does. But there's this worry, not only from Dr. Loomis and Rachel, because she's mentally fucked up. She's not a mute at all. She might be catatonic, maybe, which I guess is a mute, but I don't mean in the same ways that Jamie was in the actual Halloween 5. I guess in the sense of being sort of having telepathy or like being able to communicate with her brother or know what her uncle, and know that bullshit is just garbage. So I get rid of that, but I would have it take place at a hospital, and Dr. Loomis is, but they assume that Michael is buried in the grave, and then sort of weird things begin to happen. Halloween is coming around again, and they're more worried about Jamie, because Jamie is showing signs that she's not all well, not all there, and they're very worried about her becoming... So it's kind of like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, so I draw your attention over here, but in actuality, Michael Myers is coming back. And I would not have killed Rachel, because Rachel is... people are... You need her in that movie because Jamie is a different kind of Jamie. So we need another adult character that we can be emotionally attached to, that can play off of Loomis. So I would not have killed her off. And yeah, and then Michael ends up... Obviously, I have to go with the story they've established. So it would be that he returns, obviously, to find Jamie, because that was his goal in part 4. And everything begins to happen at this hospital, or this sanitarium, I should say. And, you know, shit begins to go down. It's Halloween night, play on the mood. Maybe there's a storm that comes in, all that juicy kind of shit. I mean, that's sort of kind of a basis of what I would have done. But I would not have gone the Man in Black. I would not have gone Thorn. I would not have gone being able to communicate and telepathy and all that garbage bullshit. Evan Rogers, thank you, Evan. Super chat. Thoughts on the new Twilight Zone episode? I haven't seen it yet, so I can't give you any thoughts. But I definitely will let you know what I think when I start to watch a few of them. I just haven't yet. David Quintanilla. Quintanilla. Yeah, that's right. For Dave's great sound effects. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, no, I'm having a live chat right now. There's 142 people watching. Well, I could ask them if you want me to, but that's kind of, you know, a little fucking... I don't know if I want to ask them that. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Sorry about that. Hey, Bobby Hall! Bobby says, Dave, what are your thoughts about Green and McBride's original idea for Halloween 18 that retcons the original Halloween ending so that Michael kills Loomis and Laurie shoots him off the balcony? Oh, I think it's garbage. I don't think that was... I mean, I understand why they may have wanted to do that, because they want to have something that helps justify the direction that they're going. But I'm very glad that John Carpenter advised them not to do that, because if you think about it, if you were to fundamentally change the ending of John Carpenter's original film, you are not only changing one of the greatest endings in horror and motion picture history, you are now rendering everybody's copy of that movie obsolete. So, I mean, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know if they thought about that, but it's kind of like, well, that doesn't, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. So, and it's unnecessary. What I would have done is kept everything the same. And I would have, if you needed a little bit of context before you went into your new movie, if you felt you needed that, then I would have had just shown the exact ending, just the 1978 film, not reshot it, would have just shown the ending, like how they showed Judith's death in the 18 film, right? In a flashback kind of thing. I would have shown the ending of the movie. And then I would have picked up, and maybe you see him gone, and maybe there's like a shadow, you know, that kind of collapses against a wall or something, and you hear the sirens and look at that, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I guess he was gone, but he look, there's really no way to really, anything you do diminishes the value and impact of the ending of the 1978 film. Even Halloween 2, 1981 diminishes the coolness and impact of that ending, because the original point of that ending, as I've said ad nauseum, was just that was it. That was the movie, right? It was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. That was it. He's gone. Nobody knows where he went. He's just gone into the ether. And then, of course, you see the, you know, the shots of where he was and that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, he's just out there. He could be anywhere, right? Well, if that movie had never had a sequel, oh my God, what a great message. And it's still a great message because you can watch it for its own merits, but every sequel you make after that just whittles away that whole sort of, you know, point, right? So, so yeah, I mean, But if they desperately felt they needed context and they needed something, I would not have shot or changed the ending. I would have just implied that, okay, well, instead of going that way, which would have been the beginning of Halloween 2, 1981, he went that way and collapsed in an alley and he was captured. Because later in the movie, you find out that he was captured anyway. So, okay, so you show that, you give it some context, and it's kind of cool. But to actually change the ending, you render now my copy of Halloween is like, well, because that's not what happens now. And this is supposed to be officially canon. So it's like, well, that's dumb. That's dumb. So those are my thoughts. A couple more super chats here. Frank Riker says, do you think Michael Myers evolves throughout the series? No, not really. No, because he can't evolve. And because the character is a very specific type of character. And if you give him too much backstory or you give him too many explanations, I mean, that's context. So then the character in that respect, I guess, sort of evolves. But then you diminish what makes him so great. So I don't think he particularly evolves, though, really, at the end of the day. He's pretty much the same kind of guy, really. Will Myers, thank you for the super chat, Will. Much appreciated. And your name is just great. I like your name. Let's see. Matthew Moody says, hey, Dave, love what you are doing with the channel. Thank you. Why is the room a little dark? Are you getting ready to do a new Halloween fan film? Oh, I just something different. I just wanted a bit of mood, because when I began this live stream, for those of you that are just tuning in, I was showing everybody some cool stuff, like my fucking ninja sword. And that character that I was talking about. And then, of course, I was also showing my cool machete. And then I also showed, where is it here? Oh, yeah. My Rambo knife. And then, of course, people were also asking me about what I use sometimes when I shoot my short films or when I'm out shooting stuff. And for those of you that are just tuning in, 9 times out of 10, I'll just use the DSLRs at my disposal. So whether it's a Canon Mark D2 or Mark D3 full frame, which is fine for short films and things like that. I have shot on the Red and that kind of stuff, but they're really expensive to rent, and you need to really know what you're doing with those cameras as well. So sometimes it's in your best interest to also hire a DP that's worked with that, the Red or the Alexa on a consistent basis, and therefore they know what they're doing, and there's not really much of a learning curve for you, so you can focus on directing. But if I'm just out shooting some little short stuff and things like that, this is what I use as my rig. And I go out and I shoot. And I got my little monitor up here, and you can attach any DSLR to the rig. So whether it's introductory, like your Canon Rebels, or whether it's more high-end, like in your Mark D, Mark D2, Mark D3, or the higher-end Nikons, you can attach it to here. And, of course, you can adjust these to how much light you want to come into the frame and all that kind of jazz. And it's a lot of fun. And I use this to for some of the smooth shots that I like to shoot, and this was great. I took this to Los Angeles with me when I shot the stuff at, oh, my monitor fell off, but just kind of dipped there. Got to tighten that up. When I shot the stuff in Pasadena. So it's awesome. Of course, it all comes apart and fits in your suitcase, and away you go. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So I wanted to show some of you that because I do get those questions quite a bit. So anyway. Let's see here. Movie Chat and More says, do you like Indecent Proposal? Indecent? Ooh, oh, you little thing, you. I haven't seen it in years. But the concept is always kind of fun. So I don't remember not liking it. But it was fun. Let's see here. Wes Hightower, a bunch of hearts and smiley faces, I assume, because of the camera and rig. Yeah, Wes is big into cinematography and whatnot, and so that's always fun to listen to what he has to say about that. Let's see here. Spitz says, what is your favorite rendition of John Carpenter's iconic 5/4 Halloween melody? Apart from the 78 original, and which one do you typically jam out in your free time and why? It'd be the original. But the original you hear in the movie, not the one you get on soundtrack. Okay, because the one that you get on soundtrack and the one that they've played ever since, it has that beat to it, right? So you hear bum 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 bum, but you hear the right? And but when you actually watch the 78 movie, that beat, like where that bass is not there. It's gone. Instead, you hear much more prominently the tick, 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 and that is my favorite. And if you watch my little fan film, The Night He Came Back, that at the very beginning of that film, that's the rendition I use because that's my favorite. I do like the synth that Alan Howarth did for Halloween 2. I think that's really cool. I think it was kind of a cool. It's cool. It's got its own kind of. Yeah, I don't like it as much as the original, but it's cool in its own right. But that, and I do like the Halloween 2018 soundtrack. I do like it. But if I have to be honest with what's my favorite, it would definitely be the original. Okay. The Film Addict says, "Hey Dave, who is your favorite professional wrestler? Also, which entrance theme is your favorite professional wrestler?" Oh yeah, I forgot to show you guys this too. I'll get back to that in just a second. My boom mic. This is what I use as well when I'm recording dialogue. Oh, let me see here. Let me see if I can get this. When I'm recording dialogue, this is what I use. So this obviously goes above the actor or actress. And of course, you have to make sure that you're angling this appropriately and correctly. And then this hooks into my Zoom recorder, which I should have brought out, but it's over there. And that's how I record my dialogue when I'm shooting my short films. And this has been great. Like this, I've actually helped others on their short films just doing sound. They were like, "Hey, you want to help with the sound in this show?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come out. I'll just fucking help with that shit." Okay, I'm ready. All right. Okay. Sound. Rolling camera. Where you go. You know what I'm saying? It's good shit. Hey, my favorite wrestler and my favorite entrance theme. You know what? My favorite wrestler from the 80s, you got to go classic, right? You got to go Hogan, and my favorite wrestler from the 90s when I was in high school was definitely Stone Cold. And then recently I've come to appreciate Macho Man a lot more because he was so fucking intense. Macho Man was like, I swear to God, like 3 seconds away from having a stroke every time he opened his mouth. Because he was always like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm about to go. Hogan on! I'm about to go inside. What's really gonna happen?" And that's what he would do. He would get really quiet, and then he'd fucking freak out, and then he'd get quiet again. So it'd be something like this. "I'm about to go inside over there, and I'm gonna tell you what it's gonna be like, but I'm not gonna take it because that's the way I'm gonna do it. I'm the cream rises to the top." Yeah. Like he was just so like, what the fuck? He was intense. He was so intense. He was always, "Hogan, I'm about to kick your fucking mama." And then he'd get right down here like this. It was always, like I said, like 3 seconds away from a fucking stroke. Goldberg too. Yeah, I loved Goldberg. Who doesn't like Goldberg, right? He had a great look, a great presence. So yeah, Goldberg was great too. But I can't say that I'm a huge wrestling fan in general, right? I haven't watched WWE since it was WWF. So it's been quite a long time since I've watched. I think the last WrestleMania I watched a bit of the one when Goldberg came back a couple years ago because I thought that was kind of fun. But of course there's, it's the nostalgia, right? You know what I mean? If Stone Cold came back to wrestle The Rock, then I'd probably tune in, because it's like being a teenager again. So, but I can't say I watch anything now. Okay. Have you heard, Red Ranger 241 says, "Have you heard Macho Man's rap album?" No, I haven't. Can you, "I'm about to go where it's really gonna flow. Yeah. I'm about to kick your fucking ass. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah." I mean, I'm surprised he didn't kill. Ooh, yeah. And the vein popping in his neck. Dali Williams. Butchering that. Sorry about that. Do you like karate? Trick or treat, motherfucker. Do I like karate? I don't mind. I don't mind karate, I guess. I mean, I took Taekwondo when I was a kid. I didn't get very far, though. I forget why I dropped out. I wonder why. I remember my calculator watch. This goes back to, I'm dating myself now. I remember my calculator watch was stolen from the change room. Maybe that pissed me off as a kid. Maybe I was just like, fuck this. It's probably my fucking sensei that took it too. Anyway, Chris Baber, Super Chat. Chris, you're awesome. Random shit show donation. You should consider visiting the upcoming Monster Mania cons in August and October, Maryland and Jersey. It was beyond awesome. Yeah, I've heard great things about those cons. Absolutely. That would be cool. That would, yeah, that would be really cool. That would be awesome. We got Fan Expo coming up here in Toronto in August, which is one of the largest in North America. They get about, I think it's between 150 and 200,000 people, maybe even 250,000 people over the course of the 3 or 4 days. It's just huge. Like I think it's the second or third after Comic-Con in terms of size, right here in Toronto every August. So if you guys are close to Toronto, or if you guys are thinking about taking a vacation to Canada in the summer up this way, go to is it fanexpo.com? Well, just Google Fan Expo Toronto or whatever, and you'll get the site, and it's pretty cool stuff. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Let me see. Bonesaw's ready! Yeah, that's right. Spider-Man. Just scrolling back to see if there's anybody that I have not answered in terms of maybe somebody new that I don't. Legend Steelers fan 96 said, Dave, they should do a Halloween TV series. I don't think they should. I think they should just leave Halloween alone now, personally. But it's because I don't have confidence. That's why. I don't think I don't know what you would do with it. And personally for me, I don't want to see little Michael Myers in his younger years with Dr. Loomis. I mean, he was catatonic for 15 years. So what the fuck is it going to be about? Him just going, I watched him for 15 years, sitting room, standing on. Anyway, I just don't care to see it. But that's cool, though, if you want to see it. Chris Hurley says, Dave, will you write and direct a feature-length film? Yes, I will. I have, for those of you that don't know, I am in development on a major feature-length film right now. I've been in development on this for a long time. It's based on true events from my second year of college back 20 years ago. And so I am definitely going to do that. And it's a mystery, thriller, paranormal drama. So it's something that is in that sort of genre, but I want it to stand out. It's a very sort of cerebral, mature film that deals with the college generation, and it's based on true events, based on a true story. So it takes a lot of work to bring something like that to life. I've been writing it over the last 15 years or so because I want it to be perfect, and I'm constantly polishing it and tweaking it. But once that's all, it's pretty much close to being done. And once it is, then of course my buddy Bruce and I are going to do our best to assemble a production package that we can have and ready to pitch. And the hardest part, of course, will be getting somewhat creative control on the project, because obviously I haven't done a feature-length film of this magnitude before. Everybody gets there first. But so selling me along with it is going to be a huge part of the package, part of the pitch, because you know, it's a personal piece and something that I want to do because I was there and I wrote it. So it's kind of like, it's like my Rocky kind of thing, right? I mean, not in the sense that it's that kind of a story or that I'm going to be in it, but I just mean that it's a personal project like how that was to Sly. So more information will come down the pipe as more information comes out about that. But to answer your question, yes. Oh, of course. Yes. A couple super chats. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Rick Michaels says, any news on a He-Man movie? Well, as far as I know, they've cast that actor that I don't think looks anything like fucking He-Man. I forget his name now. Maybe he's going to be Prince Adam. I don't know. But they are going to camera this summer for a next year 2020 release. I'm blown away by it. I'll be honest with you. I know a few people that work for Sony Pictures, so I say this, it's not personal, of course. I don't have confidence right now that this is going to be the He-Man. Like, we're finally getting the He-Man we want, but it's not necessarily going to be the He-Man we want, if you know what I mean. Because there's I'm very... Let's just put it this way. And it's very early on. They haven't even gone to camera. They're still in pre-production right now. Until we start to get more news, I am more confident in a sequel to Halloween 2018 being not bad than I am this He-Man movie being the He-Man movie it needs to be. I don't know. It's because it's taken so long to do it. And this is the kind of movie that you think it shouldn't have taken this long. Now, there's a multitude of reasons why it has. He-Man's not in the pop culture consciousness anymore, unless you're somebody my age or your age. I don't know how old you are, but, unless you're somebody who grew up with He-Man, you're not clamping at the bit for a He-Man film, right? I mean, it's sort of, no one cares, right? And is it going to make money? Are people going to care about this? Is it too late, right? I mean, really, a He-Man movie should have come out when it did come out in 1987, but of course, that was a shit show of a film. So the only real good thing about that movie was Frank Langella's portrayal as Skeletor. And Meg Foster's portrayal as Evil Lynn. I thought she was kind of cool. And incredible eyes. My God, Meg Foster has got amazing eyes. But anyway, but it might be a little too much too late. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. But yeah, they're just Google that shit. It's fucking happening, to my surprise. Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. How's your Daffy Duck voice coming along? Oh, my Daffy Duck. I can't do... One of the things that I don't consider myself an impressionist, right? So as a voice actor, there are voice actors in this business that are wonderful impressionists and can, emulate and mimic known characters really well. And now, remember, there's a difference between being able to do someone's tagline, right, and actually being able to talk like that character for like 5 minutes, right? Just because I might be able to go, and let's take, Ronald Reagan, right? Just because I can go, well, doesn't mean that is a Ronald Reagan impression, right? Okay, so I can go, well, I mean, who cares? Can I talk like him for 5 minutes? And the answer is no. Right? So there's a misconception of that in the world of voiceover. But there are a lot of voice actors talented right now. I mean, when I was at the Voice Arts Awards, I had the wonderful opportunity of talking to Bob Bergen, who's the voice of Porky Pig. And we shot the shit for about half an hour. And he's been doing Porky since Mel Blanc passed away in 1989. So, I mean, he does a wonderful Porky Pig. And there's a lot of actors, since Mel Blanc is dead, of course, there's people that have stepped up to the plate that can do Bugs and Daffy, and they sound almost like Mel. I mean, they're amazing. That's not really my area of strength. My area of strength would be original characters, original voices that I come up with, right? And characters that I create. Now, that doesn't mean that they might not sound similar to other things, but, like I like just coming up with my own characters. Or, hey, what's going on? And just kind of making my own stuff. That's where my strength sort of lies. If somebody was like, we need you to audition to be Bugs Bunny, I'd be like, I'm not auditioning to be Bugs Bunny. I would embarrass myself, right? So, I mean, I can maybe get into the ballpark because I know where to place my voice in terms of certain things, like maybe where I need to place it, but I certainly couldn't do a Bugs Bunny impression. So, in terms of Daffy Duck, I would love to be able to do Daffy Duck, and maybe I should work on it. That would be fun to do. I was working on a Christopher Walken not long ago. He's an interesting guy. He's like, how would he go? He's kind of like, well, it's there. Come on. I know what you're doing. It's all there. Come on. But that's sort of like the place. But if you were to say, now talk like him for half an hour, I'd be like, okay, well, hang on. I got to work on that. We can all do this. Come on. You know how it is. It's right there. Come on. But that's not necessarily an impression of him, right? So it takes a lot of work. My hat goes off to the voice actors that can actually do the impressions. And real impressions. I mean, talk like them for like 5 minutes. That's really cool. But my strength is more in creating original characters. Yeah, so anyway. Let's see here. A couple more super chats. Chris Baber, thank you, Chris. No name mention needed, but seriously, are you going to check out John Wick 3? Oh, I really enjoyed John Wick 2, and I really enjoyed John Wick, the first movie. I like the first movie better than the second one. I don't know if I'll see it in the theater. Maybe. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I think this should end it. And the fucking thing that's hilarious about John Wick... Okay, John Wick takes place, okay? Think of everything that fucking he went through in John Wick. Think about that, okay? Now, think about everything he went through in John Wick 2. And John Wick 2 and John Wick 1 all happened within what? Like a couple of weeks of each other, right? Something like that, okay? And then John Wick 3 is supposed to pick up immediately after John Wick 2. Okay, come on. Like, this guy would be in therapy. Like, I mean, everything he goes through in these 3 movies. Like, I mean, because all these 3 movies all take place within inside of, I think, like a couple of weeks, maybe a month at the most. That's insane. The guy would be like, oh my God, he'd have PTSD like you wouldn't believe. But yes, awesome movies, and I definitely will check it out at some point. Roberto Van Burr. Hi, Dave. What are your thoughts about if they make a sequel to Halloween 2018? How can they make Michael still a strong killer now that his fingers are blown off? Well, I am still working on my sequel idea for Halloween 2018. I know I announced that a few months back, but things are busy, of course, in the world of professional voiceover, and of course I have other things I want to do with the channel as well, so I am working on it. I promise, I am. I've written a lot down, and now I'm compartmentalizing those things, and then I will make a video eventually talking about my sequel idea. So, it's coming. Let's see here. Evan Rogers, thank you, Evan. He says that and the new She-Ra regularly takes shots at and takes dumps on the old Masters of the Universe. And She-Ra cartoons, it's like Star Wars all over again. I'm not really kind of sure what you're saying there, per se, Evan, but I agree in the sense that it's taken far too long to get a Masters of the Universe movie made, and it might be too little too late. We'll see how it works, or how it goes. Let's see here. Matthew Roberts says, Dave, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars holiday episode? Oh, I love it! Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. That's Bill Murray, of course, from Saturday Night Live, I believe. But that was the Star Wars holiday special. I don't do drugs, but if I did drugs, that would be the first thing I would watch on drugs. That would be the first thing I would watch. If I did some serious cocaine or heroin, which I don't. And kids, stay away from drugs. But that would be seriously what I would do. Get really high and just sit there and watch the Star Wars holiday special. That's ridiculous. I don't even know what... Art Carney and B. Arthur and what the fuck? Insane. And the sexual undertones and shit. I tried to watch it with my girlfriend about 2 years ago. Like, we watched some, because I wanted to show her, because she was like, sure, and she's like, what the fuck is this? You know, it's like, this is just so... it's legendary now for being so notoriously bad. And now it's kind of crossed over into that it's so bad it's good. But it's not really. It's so bad it's good, but it's bad, if you know what I mean. Let's see here. Happy Sanjo, thank you for the super chat. Happy says, hey Dave, thoughts on the Psycho movies? Well, I haven't watched them in a really long time. Really like the first Psycho because I'm a big Alfred Hitchcock fan. My favorite Hitchcock my favorite Hitchcock movie actually I think is Rear Window with Jon Stewart. It's my favorite. Jon Stewart kind of sounds like a little bit like Sean Connery, but not quite. It's Jon Stewart. You know, he sounds like this. Jon Stewart. Jimmy Stewart, sorry. Jimmy Stewart, not Jon Stewart. Jimmy Stewart is my, with, Rear Window. Yeah, that's my favorite Hitchcock. But Psycho 2 and 3, I haven't seen those in years. Jimmy Stewart, yeah. No, I know, Jimmy! Wayne Downey says they actually got Harrison Ford to do it. Yeah, that's right, I did. I did it because I fucking had money. It was what I needed the money. Bradley Heath says, I know you don't do reviews, but it would be cool if you did a series diving into symbolism of different movies. Yeah, you know what? Doing movie reviews takes a lot of time and energy. And that's why I leave it to those who are really passionate about doing it. That doesn't mean that if a movie doesn't affect me in a certain way, I won't jump on and talk about it, because I will, and I've done that here, right? The only official movie review I've ever done on this channel is Halloween 2018, but that I wanted to do, and that was an expectation that everybody had, and my whole channel up to that point was building to that, right? I mean, I became known as the Halloween guy, you know? I mean, I jumped on and was talking about Halloween, and I was talking about it from a different perspective, and the rest is history. So it was all sort of building to that. But in terms of the formal movie reviews, like what Cody Leach does, and Lee McCoy, and, you know, the guys over at Wham, and things like that, it's not, they do it and do it very well, and my hat goes off to them. For me, but it takes a lot of time. You ask those guys, you know, you go behind the scenes of what they do, and they have lives, they have wives and children and jobs, and you ask, it takes a lot of work to put out a video, and a lot of takes and a lot of editing and things like that. And I'm at an advantage maybe over them to a certain degree because I have a home studio where I do most of my work from. Like, I don't have a 9-to-5 job, right? So my commute usually is from the bedroom to the basement, and I'm very fortunate that way. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have to go into downtown every so often, because I do. Especially if I'm doing movie trailers or national commercials, those are done in studios downtown. But for the most part, about 65, maybe even 70% of my work is done from my home studio, because I can tap into clients, and we can connect through Skype and through Phone Patch, and I record and they hear me and all that, and then I send them the files and all that jazz. So it's very easy because I'm already here, but it just takes a lot of work to do a traditional movie review, and I consider myself my strengths lie in more of the insights and perspective and things I'm passionate about, and that's sort of the angle that I'm coming from. So I come at it from that angle, and then if it ends up being a little bit of an unorthodox movie review, well then great, right? But I tend to kind of come at it from that angle. So I'm more of like a commentator, I guess, in terms of this channel. I'm not a commentator by trade. Obviously, I'm a voice actor and an actor. I mean, that's what I am. I mean, you know, so, but I have a lot to say because of my experience. I've met so many people over the years and heard so many stories and so many things that I love sharing with you guys in terms of insights of what something might mean, or what that means when somebody says something like that, or I read an article and I'm like, they're saying that, and that doesn't mean I'm going to be right all the time, but I like to share that with you because before I didn't really have anybody to share it with other than the people in my own circle, which is not always fun. You know, you want to share it with the world. You're passionate and you want to share it with the world. So you guys are awesome, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in and caring what I have to say. So awesome shit. Goob, I love that. Goob says, any Indy 5 news? The last I heard was John Kasdan, son of Lawrence Kasdan, who helped to write the Solo film, was rewriting the script. They were going to start shooting Indiana Jones 5 this month, right now, for a summer 2020 release, but that was pushed back, and that's the last I heard. I have no idea, no fucking idea. So I don't know. I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. Harrison Ford's my favorite actor. So as soon as news drops, you guys will know about it, because that's something I definitely will want to talk about on here. Bren says, I thought you said thoughts on the apocalypse. And I'm like, oh my God, the apocalypse is coming. I'm fucking ready. I'm ready. Come on. Come on, you sons of bitches. Come on. Come on. Come on. I'm ready. If there was an apocalypse right now, I would be ready. Dave, snap out of it. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. Thoughts on Apocalypse Now? Haven't seen it in years. Did you know Harrison Ford had a small role in that movie? He did. Haven't seen it in years. I remember liking it, but it was a long time ago. I should watch that again. 70, what was that? 76? 77? Somewhere in there? Maybe it was 70, somewhere in there. Maybe it was before that. Maybe it was 74. It was somewhere in there. Let's see here. Dan Curley says, Dave, who do you think wins? Godzilla versus King Kong? Oh, this is tricky, folks. This is tricky because in reality, I think Godzilla would win. 100%. I mean, look, he's nuclear. Okay? He just breathes fire. They made Kong Skull Island. Really, its sole purpose, really, at the end of the day, was they needed a bigger Kong. Because the last King Kong was Peter Jackson's 2005 film, which I actually really liked. There's a couple of things in there where I think, they could have done it. But actually, for the most part, I thought it was great. And Weta Digital, man. Weta Digital is giving ILM a fucking run for its money. They are top shit. And Kong looked fantastic in that movie. And he was huge in that movie. But he wasn't as big as they needed him to be if they were going to do a King Kong versus Godzilla, because Godzilla in the 2014 film is fucking huge. He's the biggest Godzilla I think we've ever had. So, at least up to that point. So, they needed to do Kong Skull Island to justify Kong being a contender. And if you listen carefully to the TV spots of this new Godzilla film, there's moments where they allude to Godzilla's a good guy. Like, you know, shit begins to go down and they call on Godzilla to save the day. But Godzilla's a Japanese creation. And King Kong, I think, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an American creation, right? It's an original American story from the 1933 film, the stop animation one. So, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, but but then Godzilla versus King Kong is going to be an American film. Now, I know in the original King Kong versus Godzilla was, what, 1963, was it? 64? I have it on VHS. It was fucking great and hilarious at the same time because you can totally tell that they're just people in costumes. In that movie, they both fall off this cliff into the water, and the only one that rises is King Kong. So it's alluded that King Kong won, but I don't know. Godzilla can swim underwater. We don't know what's going on, right? So I don't know. What do I think they're gonna do? I don't know. I think you just got to look. I think Godzilla's got to win. He's the king of the monsters. They don't call him the king of the monsters for nothing. And he's nuclear. He breathes fire. That doesn't mean that Kong won't get some shots in, because clearly because of Kong Skull Island, he's fucking ginormous and he's strong and he's definitely a contender. But he's not going to win. He's not going to win. At least he shouldn't win. But they might, you know, they might fucking do a cop-out and they'll have it, maybe it'll be a cliffhanger ending, right? You know, it's kind of like, oh, come on. Maybe I'm a little biased because I'm Team Godzilla, but I'm looking at the facts. I'm taking my biases out and I'm looking at the facts. I'm like, no, Godzilla would win. I believe he would win and he should win. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be a really good fight. Sure, okay. But at the end of the day, when Godzilla breathes fire, come on. I mean, you know, anyway, that's how I see it. Okay, let's see here. Slaughter Cinema. Thank you, Slaughter Cinema. Appreciate it. Love your channel. Could we get a Veda cameo? Veda she's sleeping right now, and she's a princess, so I don't want to wake her up, okay? She's a bit of a drama queen, Don't want to wake her up. But one of these days, if she sometimes when I'm doing these streams, she'll hear me and she'll get up and she'll come in. So if you see the door open behind me, that's her, and maybe I'll be able to get her up here. Let's see here. Michelle, hey Michelle, how are you? How are you doing? I'm doing good, Michelle. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see here. Chris Baber, random dumbass question. Do you like Tenacious D or Spinal Tap better? Thoughts? Tenacious D. You mean like Jack Black's? It's been a long time since I've seen either. So I'm assuming, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I love Jack Black. It's so hard. Like, I don't want to, I'm such an honest person that I guess I could lie and just say, well, I like Tenacious D better. But I struggle because it's like, I want to be fair, you know? I'm not sure. I really like Jack Black, but Spinal Tap's a classic. Fucking classic. But something I haven't seen in a really long time. Greg Stott says, good evening at Dave McRae from Scotland. Hey, but here in Stratford, Ontario. What are your favorite British films? Well, that's a bit of a complicated question because there are traditionally British films and then there are co-productions. I don't know. I gotta say, this is going to be a real sort of cheap answer because it's not as deep as I would like to go because there are other films, but it's just off the top of my head because I just watched it. I really found the Johnny English films really hilarious. And I know that that's kind of a wah, wah, wah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get it if you feel that way, but it was just the most recent thing off the top of my head. And I think Rowan Atkinson is fucking hilarious. And although I didn't like Johnny English, the last one, as much as the first one, he's just a delight to watch. They're just so fun. And I have British roots. I mean, my mother was born there. She came to Canada when she was 12. So I'm full on half Brit. I mean, full on, you know, both my grandparents were born there and my mom was born there. And like I said, I mean, they didn't come to Canada until my mother was 12. So it's not like no, I'm full on half. So, definitely, but I've yet to go. I've yet to go to England. I've yet to go. I'd love to go, but I've yet to go. I got to fucking get on that. So if I think of it, I'll look online and kind of get a list because there's no doubt there's more than I'd like to say other than Johnny English. Let's see here. Wes Hightower says, hey Dave, would you consider doing a Halloween franchise debate like the one CP and Andrew did on the Late Horror Show? I am not familiar with I wasn't familiar with the debate you're talking about. I'll have to check that out. I've heard of the individual CP, and I don't know who Andrew is. I need a last name. CP, I think, is one of he does streams with Cody and Lee, right? I'm not familiar with that debate, but would I be willing to do a debate? Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'd be willing to do one. I've never been asked. I've never been asked to join any other stream or to do a debate. But if somebody wants to ask me and it feels right and it feels legitimate, you know, it feels like a legit thing and not an you know, exploitive thing or something like that. It feels like a legit kind of thing where we can all have some fun and really debate the issues. Then I'm all for it. I've just never been asked. So, yeah. Let's see here. Mariana M. Hawk says, hi, Dave. Question from Argentina. Do you like the type of humor from Flight of the Conchords? Gotta love New Zealand. You know what? I have, thanks to my girlfriend, who is a big Flight of the Conchords fan, we bought the collection on DVD a number of years ago, and we watched a few of the episodes. And there's some, it's not traditionally my kind of humor. It's more her kind of humor. But I certainly can appreciate what they're doing. And I got to admit, there were some of those songs that were really funny. And some of the scenarios and characters that were really funny. So, yeah, traditionally, it's not my cup of tea. But I certainly, yes, I definitely could appreciate it. For sure. And they are from New Zealand. That's right. And aren't they supposed to be doing something else as well? I think they're supposed to be having like a reboot of something or a new show, or there's something like that anyway. Matthew Roberts says, are you excited for Bill and Ted 3 to come out next year? You know what? I kind of am, but it's been so long since I've seen Bill and Ted 1 and 2 that I got to go back and revisit them. I remember in the early 90s when Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey came out. Me and a friend of mine, not Bruce. This was like a year before I met Bruce, because I met Bruce in 1992. That's how long I've fucking known that guy. But this was a buddy who I don't really talk to anymore, because, you know, you don't talk to everybody you had, as a friend when you were a kid. And, but we were going to make our own little movie, and we were going to call it Dave and Derek's Bogus Journey. And we never did. It never got off the ground for some reason. You're 10. Oh, no, I guess when Bogus Journey came out, in 91? So I would have been 12, I guess, I think, when it came out. So we were going to do that, and we just never did. Unfortunately. But I'm kind of excited about it. So I'm going to go back and watch them again in preparation for that movie. So Jordan Stevenson says, are you a Ricky Gervais fan? Yes, I am. I really like Ricky Gervais, and I really like his Netflix show that he did a couple years ago called Derek. If you guys haven't seen that, that is great. That should have been a 1-season show. I believe they sort of... It's not that the second season didn't have its charm, but the whole message of Derek, if you guys, or if anybody is familiar with the show that he did called Derek, the whole message of that show and the whole message of Derek and what he brought to people's lives, it peaked in that last episode, right? Where they were playing that Coldplay song and he was walking down the street after his dad. And, the whole message is about kindness, right? So the whole thing is like, I remember thinking, why, like, I understand why you did a season 2, but it almost felt like there's no need. Like, there's no need to do a season 2. Like, that whole... So season 2, although I watched it, it felt kind of like we were just retracing the same kind of steps, and it didn't feel... And I'm not surprised they didn't do a season 3, because it's like, well, yeah, because you peaked too early. It was like... But it was a beautiful, 8 episodes? 6 episodes or something. It was really cool. Really, really cool. And I really liked... I like his humor. I mean, some things I don't particularly agree with him on, but by and large, I appreciate what he's... most of what he does. So, yeah. Let's see here. I thought I had something else I was going to show you, but I don't know. Not really sure. Okay, let's see here. Tyler Trigg for the super chat. Thank you, Tyler. I think Leatherface has a unique on-screen presence of chaos and panic. What do you think is unique about the on-screen presence of the big three individually? Well, that's quite a intellectual. That's quite an intellectual question there, Tyler Trigg. I'll have to get my pipe out for this one. I don't have a pipe, so I'll just get this highlighter. A cigar. Well, Tyler. No. What do I think? Well, it's a loaded question. I think for the most part, let me say this for the sake of time. I've said this before. I'll say it again. The reason why people really like Michael Myers, or tend to like Michael Myers the best, is because he is we know the least about him. And when it comes to the psychological aspects of the unknown and what makes someone tick, and the fascination that people have with the unknown, and how people like to sort of know what makes someone tick, or try to, discover things, or be on that journey in this perpetual state of mystery and, wonder. Michael Myers fits that perfectly. When it comes to Freddy and Jason, although they're cool characters, there's really nothing mysterious about them. We know their backstory. We know how they got to where they are. We know why they're doing what they're doing. So there's really no sense of mystery and wonder and mystique around them. But with Michael Myers, even though the later sequels tried to explain certain things and became shit shows, the character at its core is a very mysterious being. and that works to its strength. Even Leatherface we know more about. So because people will tend to ask me, why is it that people are so in love with Michael? It's like, well, they don't realize this consciously, necessarily, but it more has to do with that human interest of it's the fascination of it's not just that he's cool, it's that, why is he doing this? It's the same reason why we have sort of interests in serial killers or Manson or Dahmer. It's not that we're glorifying them unintentionally and putting them on a pedestal, but it's that we don't understand them. It's so cold and calculated. What is it? I don't understand this. It's so inhuman. It's so foreign to me. It's so frightening and scary, and it's this mystery that surrounds, it's those nuances that surround the character of Michael Myers. It's like, why, God, he was just a boy, my God. And it's set against the backdrop of innocence, right? It's set against the backdrop of this, Midwest town where everything was normal. And for all intents and purposes, he came from a normal family with normal parents and a normal upbringing. And so it's that extraordinary situation that's so eerie and frightening against the backdrop of something so ordinary. And so there's so many different variables as to why Michael Myers is so interesting of a character and why people tend to gravitate towards him. It's not just that he's cool and it's Halloween and he's got a cool mask. It goes much deeper than that. And I could dive deep, but I tend to kind of keep it there for sake of time on these streams. But that is sort of a Cole's Notes kind of version. It falls into that category, and then when you get into that category, you can strip the layers away even further. But it has very little to do with a cool mask and a big knife, and everything to do with that sort of mystique that surrounds this unknown aspect to his whole being, his whole makeup of not only who he is but what he is. So it's interesting stuff. But in terms of the other three, yeah, it's hard. They're not nearly as mysterious, per se. Chris Baber, when you attended the H4O convention, you had many detailed conversations with the lead players, i.e. Cundy, Yablans, Wallace, etc. Which one was your favorite? I would probably say my favorite would have been Dean Cundy. Not because Cundy was necessarily a great conversationalist, although he is, but just because he's a legend outside of Halloween. He's a legend outside. I mean, you can talk about Dean Cundy for hours and not even talk about Halloween. I mean, the movies he has been DP on, when we talk about the Back to the Future trilogy, when we talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when we talk about Jurassic Park, right? When we talk about Apollo 13, when we talk about, Escape from New York, and we talk about, I mean, there's so many films, iconic films that he's been a part of, that you could talk to Dean Cundy for 5 hours and not even mention Halloween once. He is a legendary cinematographer in Hollywood. So that was a real honor. And it's not, the conversation was pretty normal, and it was it's on my channel. I talked to him for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Nothing major, because I didn't pay for that. And I talked to him off camera longer, but people are coming up to him and getting him to sign things, and they're paying for that. Well, I didn't pay to speak to him. So I was very aware that if people were coming up to pay, well, that's first, right? Because that's why they're there. So I had to kind of do it at a point where there was a lull in people, right? So it was kind of in and out kind of thing. So it wasn't like the experience of talking to him was normal, but it was just the fact that I was talking to one of the most legendary DPs in the history of cinema. And that is amazing. So no disrespect to Yablans or Wallace, but outside of Halloween, there's not too much going on in the big picture. Although you could make an argument that Wallace, of course, of course, he's known for the miniseries It as well. So that's kind of, I'd have to say Dean Cundy. I mean, just really cool to shake his hand and be like, yeah, you know, because he's up there in age now, right? He's not a young buck anymore, as they say. So let's see here. Chris Hess says, Dave, which villain would you say is more dangerous, Michael Myers from Halloween or Hannibal Lecter? I'd say Michael Myers. Hannibal Lecter, you can have a sort of a hold on. Michael Myers, the original intent of Michael Myers, you have no idea where he is. He can be there and not there, you know? And what's so great about that original film, too, is that you could make an argument that when Laurie Strode is looking at Michael Myers in Mr. Riddle's backyard, Mr. Riddle was watching you. Laurie, Mr. Riddle is 87. He can still watch. That's about all he can do. Let's smoke some pot and go buy the fucking thing and talk to my father. He's really fucking stupid and won't smell anything. Okay, that scene when Laurie is looking down at the in Mr. Riddle's backyard, and she sees Michael Myers. You know, I gotta say that you could interpret that as he really wasn't there, right? Because let's not forget that she doesn't turn away and he's gone. And there's two meanings to that. Now, I haven't really talked about the other meaning. I've more focused on that being an example, you know, the dematerialization of him just there, not there, as an example of of that supernatural element that Carpenter was trying to convey to the vibe of this character. But all the other times that you see him do that, there is justification for why he might not be there, right? We see him go behind the bush. When Annie is on the phone, she steps in front of him, presumably, even though it's very quick, which gives that, ooh, that's creepy, she still was in front of him. There still was technically enough time for him to sort of step out of frame. That is the only moment at least from what I can remember, certainly in that first film, where he's literally, in all sense of the word, literally, there, not there, right? And I've always focused on the other side of the coin, but there's another side of that coin, of course, which is, was that just a manifestation of Laurie's insecurities and fear, right? Did she really see him in the backyard? Or because she, you know, saw this weird man by this bush moments before, it's now seeped into her subconscious, unbeknownst to her, and she was a little spooked by that, right? You know, and then of course she goes out, or she goes up to the window and she looks outside and she thinks she sees this man, and then she, you know, he's not there, and she closes the window and she backs up, and it's like, well, is that just the manifestation in her own mind? Was he really in Mr. Riddle's backyard at all? You could make the argument that he never was. So that's a fascinating area of discussion, which would be a lot of fun to talk about. In terms of fuck, I forgot the question. What the hell was the question again? Maybe I answered it. I'm so sorry. There's so many things going by. 149 people watching. Ask the question again, and I'll see if I can finally answer it, if I didn't already answer it. Wes Hightower says, it was great ambiguity. Yes, it was. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. You were never supposed to know. I know it sounds like a cheap cop-out thing to say to those who love the sequels and where the character went, but that was it. It was a one-off Hitchcockian Twilight Zone ghost story. I mean, I was watching old Twilight Zone episodes, not the one that just aired. I mean, old shit from the 50s, okay? And when you watch those episodes, and you think of Halloween, oh my God, it fits. It fits. I mean, Halloween is a 90-minute movie, so it's like an extended, you know, it's like, you know, 3 episodes all in one. But the way it plays out and the way it ends and the message and the whole, oh my God. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. You could have left Halloween alone and nobody would have been like, I wonder why there was no, it was 100%. You were never supposed to know what made this boy and then man tick. Never. And it works beautifully that way. Brandon Gregory. Thank you, Brandon, for the super chat. Do you get pissed when people type Myers? I do. No, I don't get pissed. Oh my God! That fucking guy just fucking typed Myers. You fucking, where the fuck's my sword? Fucking my sword. Sword. Come on! You typed Myers, you son of a bitch! You mean like that pissed? No. No, I don't get pissed. I don't get pissed. Can you imagine if I literally, if somebody literally got that pissed? No. No, I don't. Excuse me. Woo! Okay, let's see here. Bobby Hall says, yeah, the scene where Michael disappears and then he's gone and we don't really know what Laurie saw is what got me hooked on Halloween when I first saw it on TV. Such a simple and great effect. Yeah, it's true. Like, that is a literal example of there, not there. I mean, you've heard me say many times on this channel, oh, you know, it's the there, not there kind of thing. And there's many examples of that throughout the original film. But that is the only literal example of that. And that's why I say you could make an argument that he was never in Mr. Riddle's backyard. That's Laurie's insecurities. That's Laurie's imagination, essentially, because of what just happened by the bush. And she's spooked, right? And then she has that thing where she sees the kids and she's like, well, kid, I thought you outgrew superstition, right? And then a few moments later, she thinks she sees this man in the backyard. Or maybe it really was Mr. fucking Riddle. Maybe it really was Mr. Riddle in the backyard. Somebody needs to do that. Maybe I'll do it. And you heard it here first, folks. Somebody needs to make a spoof where Laurie looks out and actually sees an old man. I know people have done spoofs where they see Michael doing weird things like, you know, raking the lawn and playing chess with, you know, all that shit. But somebody needs to make one where she looks out and she sees Mr. Riddle in the backyard, and he's like half naked or something, and he's standing there. And he's like 90. He's 87! Totally gotta fucking do that shit. Let's see here. Christopher Wynn says, Dave, if Kylo Ren is unredeemable, why did he hesitate to kill Leia? Well, I think the reason is because you were showing the conflict. And see, Kylo Ren is not like his grandfather. A lot of people, and this is my opinion, a lot of people make fun of Kylo Ren's temper tantrums and that he's a whiny little bitch and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that I didn't see it that way. That's not my interpretation. And I don't believe that was J.J. Abrams' interpretation either. Kylo Ren wants desperately to be like his grandfather. And he is incredibly powerful. Very powerful. And, of course, Snoke knew that, right? But he struggles internally, okay? As seen by not killing his mother. But that doesn't mean that he's not, or that doesn't mean that he's redeemable. Because in the first movie especially, which is another reason why Rian Johnson fucked shit up, is that was the point of no return when he killed his father. Like, when that scene is so great. I didn't want Han to die either. I didn't want Harrison Ford to die. But that scene is so great because it's steeped in symbolism. You have the white light coming in from the sucking of the star, right? And then, of course, everything turns to red the moment that Kylo Ren is going to kill his father. And then Han Solo falls into the white light. There's so much symbolism there. But when Kylo says, I don't know if I have to, or I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Can you help me? A lot of people interpreted that as, I don't know if I know what I need to do, translation, I need to come with you and go back to the good side, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Can you help me? Can you help me become a good guy again? No, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant at all. You're supposed to think maybe that's what he meant, but that's not what he meant. What he meant was, I know what I need to do, which is I need to kill you. In order for me to be one step further to becoming exactly like my grandfather, one step further to gaining the fucking respect because nobody respects him. Hux doesn't respect him. The stormtroopers don't respect him. They only respect him because he's powerful. They don't respect him based on merits. Do you see what I'm saying? They don't respect him because of what he's accomplished. They don't respect him because of what he stands for. They're afraid of him because they know he can kick his ass. That's a different level of respect altogether. Completely different level. Okay, that's the only reason why if they see him, having it, they're like, oh shit, we'll go. But they're not respecting him per se. They're just afraid of him because he's strong. Well, he knows that if he can kill his father, he can prove to Snoke that he is one. He is ready. He is one step. I killed my fucking dad, man. Right? Do you know what I mean? And when Snoke said, what the fuck did he say? He said something like, something like, this is the ultimate test or something, a test that you need to, something like, that's what he was talking about, killing his dad. Sorry, it's been a while since I've watched The Force Awakens, but he says something like that, right? And that's what he's talking about. So yes, he had to kill his father. He knew he had to kill his father. And the fact that he did is like, that was the moment of no return. Han was a sacrifice, but not because Harrison Ford, I just don't want to be in these fucking movies anymore. No. It was all about character and progressing the main antagonist forward, right? He was a sacrifice. Han was a sacrifice because Ren wants to be like his grandfather. Doesn't mean he's going to be, but he wants to be. And he knew he had to murder his father. So when he went back to wherever he had to go back to, people were like, he fucking murdered his dad. Oh shit, he is fucking serious, right? That's what that was all about. That's what that was all about. It wasn't just, him killing his dad is lame. It's like, oh, fuck, man. People think. Anyway, so no, I don't think that he's redeemable at all. But he will always continue to struggle because he struggles, right? He will always continue to struggle, but that doesn't mean that he's redeemable. And who knows where he's going to be in this last film. Right? He could be flat. That's it. It's done. So that's what I got to say about that. Let's see here. Aaron Zakowski says, what is the one thing you do not like about the original Halloween? Great question. One thing I don't like about the original Halloween. What do I don't like about it? I don't like it. It's hard because I don't know if there's anything I don't like. There are things that I notice now that are dated that I think, I don't know. I have to, and it's not because I'm blind to things that are wrong with it. There are a few things that could be improved upon. But for what it was, the execution of the kind of movie it was, it's borderline masterpiece. Because that doesn't mean that it's not dated. I mean, you can watch films from the 40s and the 50s and the 30s that are dated, but relative to their time and relative to the execution and the whole sort of point of the story, you can go, it's good. I mean, Rear Window is a little dated now. You watch it and some of the acting's a bit funny and some of the characters are a bit sensational because you have to remember, especially back at that time, cinema was very new and you were coming from the stage. So a lot of the acting in movies in the 40s and in the 50s and in the 60s was theater acting, was very, hello, darling, how are you? Well, I'm just going to go over here. And it was very theater because that's where you came from. And then, of course, when you got into the 70s and the 80s, that sort of began to sort of go away. So there's a lot of films that I can watch from the 40s and 50s that are a bit dated now, but that are masterpieces, and Halloween, its intent, the intent of that movie and what they were trying to do and the kind of horror movie it was, it's not a slasher film, folks. The original Halloween from 1978 is not a slasher film. It's not. It is a psychological mystery thriller, I guess. And we see it's not really thriller, but I mean, it's not. It only became a slasher movie, I guess, because of it was a knife and you were killing people. But I think it really solidified itself as a slasher because of its subsequent sequels. But it's not a slasher per se. I mean, you compare the original Friday and the original Elm Street with the original Halloween, and there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Something I do want to touch on, sorry, Movie Chat and More says Michael Myers, age 23 in the credits. You know what, buddy? I have to agree with you. Yes, that is one thing that irks me to this day. But this is why it irks me. Okay. You got a $325,000 budget. It's a little independent movie. You're making it not for much. You put Michael Myers age 23 instead of 21. Okay. Whoops. Shit happens, right? Okay. But you do it again at the end of Halloween 2, 1981? Watch the end credits to Halloween 2 from 1981. It says Michael Myers, age 23, Tony Moran, right? Because, of course, the movie picks up with the end of the first film. So that's why they had to do that. And I'm like, you make the same mistake when even in Halloween 2, Dr. Loomis says, Michael Myers is 21. And it's kind of like, you make that. That was always like, oh my God, they made the same mistake twice. Unbelievable. Let me see here. Chris Baber says, the only error I found in H1 aside from Carpenter's cigarette smoke, well, that's a technical error. Right. Well, I wouldn't even say that's a technical error. That's more of just that might fall into crew member goof. Even though you don't see anybody, it's coming from a crew member, right? But was when Laurie bumped into Sheriff Brackett and she appeared to be laughing. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that never really bothered me. I didn't really get the sense that she was laughing per se. I will say this. I mean, some of the acting in retrospect is a little cheesy. It's a little, it seems a little wooden. There's definitely some acting in the original Halloween that seemed wooden. Now, or that does seem wooden. Now, whether or not it seemed wooden in 1978, I don't know. I wasn't born yet. I wasn't born until a year later, in 79. So I didn't have the wonderful opportunity of being able to see that movie in the theater or even in and around that time. It might seem a little cheesy now in retrospect because, of course, the movie's so old. But certainly when I showed my girlfriend Halloween for the first time a few years ago, that was one of her things, was like, not even that. She said, I don't buy that these are teenagers. Like, there was something very mature and older about Linda, and especially Annie. Like, there's no way that Annie seems like she's like 16, 17 even, or 18. She seems like she's in college. And that's fair. That's true. But then again, when you go back and you watch teenagers from the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, they all do look like they're older. Like they're dressed really nicely, and and they don't look like how teenagers look today. Do you know what I mean? So that could be a bit of the culprit there as well. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely certain things I could nitpick at, and maybe I will do that. That's actually not a bad idea, because of course I praise the film and I talk about all its strengths. Maybe it would be fun, just for shits and giggles, to actually upload a video where I'm tearing it apart. And obviously I'd have to be a little sensational because there's not a whole lot you can tear apart. Because you'd be tearing things that, apart, things that they had no control over, right? Because of, their budget and all that kind of stuff. So, but it might be fun to do just as almost like a satire, right? So that might be kind of fun. Let's see here. Brandon Gregory, thanks for the super chat, Brandon. Says, did you see the retail poster for episode 9? Kylo has his mask back and the Knights of Ren are on it. I am so pumped. I did see that poster. I think it's a dog shit poster. And I hope it's not the original poster. I hope it's not the official poster, which I don't think it is. As you mentioned, it's probably for Star Wars Celebration or maybe some version of. But I agree with what Mark Hamill said when he said it just looks like somebody took. It's garbage. I fucking, for the most part, hate movie posters. There's no now, because everybody's got Photoshop, they can just Photoshop. It just looks like they're just Photoshopping a bunch of characters using their layers. Oh, I know how to use layers, and I know how to use, you know, the clone tool, right? And I know how to use this and use that, and I'll just make this really. It's dog shit. I think it's fucking dog shit. I think it's a dog shit poster. I do. I think it's garbage. That doesn't mean the movie's not going to be good. Maybe it was an unfinished version of that poster. There was too much white space, too much. I could have done that in a mere half an hour. Like that. I am proficient in Photoshop enough that I could have put that together in half an hour. No problem. No problem. You know what I mean? And I should look at a poster and go, wow. You know, now again, the official poster that actually advertises the movie will probably look a lot different. But I actually quite liked the Force Awakens poster. Although it wasn't hand-drawn or painted like many of the originals were, I liked the Force Awakens official poster. Okay, not the Drew Struzan one where there was just Rey and Harrison Ford on it. That was okay. Wasn't really a big fan of that. The official poster I actually quite liked. The Last Jedi posters, I like the Last Jedi poster that they gave out at Celebration when it was just Rey with her arm up like this, right, with Kylo, and that should have just been the poster. That should have been the poster. I know and maybe if this was 30 years ago, it would have been. But of course, we live in an era now where posters are business. They make money, and, you know, they're going to release a teaser poster. They're going to release a promotional poster. They're going to release an official poster. They're going to release a teaser to an official to and a teaser to an... Because it makes money, and I get it. But your question was, what do I think of that? I like that we see the Knights of Ren. Like, I like some of the things that I saw, but if it is an official retail poster or something they're going to hand out at Celebration, which is coming up soon, it's this weekend, isn't it? Or next weekend or something. I think it's dog shit. And if they handed it to me, I'd go thanks, and I'd crumple up and throw it in the garbage. I think it's dog shit. I don't want it. It just looks cheap. Looks cheap. It looks very retail. Let's just put it that way. Dylan Clumbatch. Bach. Is it Bach or Batch? Hey, Dave, what are some of your favorite thought-provoking films? Oh, thought-provoking films. Oh, man. I love Shutter Island. I love The Others. I love The Shining. I love... thought-provoking... Well, what's thought-provoking to one may not be thought-provoking to another. Most recently, of course, Hereditary, I thought, was great. There's a lot of foreign films, too, that I thought... I got to make a list, because that's a loaded question that is very sort of subjective at the... I kind of know what you mean at the end of the day, but I'd have to kind of make a list. There's some out there, for sure. Let's see here. Daniel Newbegin. Hey, Dave, have you had a chance to see Us yet? If so, any thoughts? I have not had a chance to see it yet, but I will see it, and if it moves me profoundly in some sort of way, to the point where I feel the need to jump on and talk about it, I will. I will talk about it. That's what I will do. Falling Down says Movie Chat and more. Yeah, Falling Down was good. That one with Michael Douglas. That was good. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good ones. There are a lot. Jacob's Ladder is great. I could keep going. They're good. Brandon Bizzle says, do you think Robert Englund will ever play Freddy again? I think it's possible that he will play Freddy again, but I think it's unnecessary for him to play Freddy again. Joey Kaput says the first movie poster for Joker. Yeah, I liked it. I'm really looking forward to the teaser trailer that they're dropping tomorrow. Ooh. What do you think, Joker, of the teaser trailer that they're dropping tomorrow? The teaser trailer? I'm looking forward to it. I am. I'm looking forward to it. Oliver Mercer says, I would like the old film art posters back. They were, yeah, I agree. There was something really cool about those hand-drawn and hand-painted posters. Like the example I always use is the 2013 film with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock, The Heat, right? Now, say what you want about McCarthy or whatever. I don't give a frog's fat ass what you think of her personally. I like her. I think she's funny. I really enjoyed that movie. There is, if you go to The Heat's IMDb page, there is a like hand-drawn, painted, whatever it is, like that old school style poster, which is fucking awesome. It's a fucking awesome poster. It's not the poster they used to market the movie. It's not the poster they used on the DVD or the Blu-ray or in the movie theaters, but it's a fucking awesome poster. And I don't know if it's official or maybe it's fan. I'm telling you, if it's not official and it is fan, fucking amazing. Like that, I would love to have that poster on my wall. It's just awesome. And yeah, it's too bad they don't go back to those kind of movies. You know, I was just thinking, one of my favorite thought-provoking movies, if you will, I guess, it's not overly deep, but it's certainly a movie that was ahead of its time, is one of my favorite Harrison Ford movies of all time, which is The Mosquito Coast. If you guys have not seen The Mosquito Coast, it was great. Directed by Peter Weir, who also directed Ford in Witness. It's got a young Joaquin Phoenix, a young Helen Mirren is in it as well. And it's also got those twins, those twin girls from The Great Outdoors with John Candy. They're in it as well. I believe it's them. And they play his daughters. And that is an awesome movie. One of my favorite Harrison Ford films, really underrated. I think ahead of its time. I think if that movie had come out now, the message and the themes of that movie would be more relevant today. So I really like it. 1986, I think? 86. Check it out if you haven't. One of my favorite films. Grave Warmer. Thank you, Grave, for the super chat. He says, hey, Dave, like many, I'm sure I really love and enjoy your ideas when it comes to filmmaking. Would you ever be open to doing a GoFundMe to fund a movie you could create? Definitely on the table. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I am in development on my own personal major feature film. So that is an avenue that we will think about. For sure, when the script is officially done, and like I said, it's been in development hell, so to speak, because I'm constantly tweaking it and polishing it. But once it is actually done, that is something that is at my disposal. Not even to raise money necessarily for the actual movie, because that, I mean, is something that will take a lot of money. If it's small projects, I tend to fund them for myself because I can do that. But if it's something that is huge, like we're talking a movie that might cost, $500,000 or something, even starting a GoFundMe to help with even the costs of marketing the production package to sell the idea is always an avenue that can be taken as well. Because sometimes filmmakers will not just raise money to make their movie, because 9 times out of 10, you got to raise a shitload of money. Like we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars minimum. So 9 times out of 10, they'll raise maybe $30,000 or $40,000 to help with their production package and their promotion of getting the film to that stage. So that's an idea as well. Yeah, it's definitely something that is on the table. Great question. Chris Baber, the Baber Man. The Baber Man. That could be like that. That sounds like an 80s show. That sounds like an 80s show. Coming up next after Hunter, Chris Baber is the Baber Man. And it's like you're like a bounty hunter or something. Anyway, last post, donation for the evening. Thank you, Chris. You are awesome. Can you please wish my alumni Auburn Tigers beat University of Virginia in the Final Four. Can't wait for the next unboxing night, brother. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, come on, Tigers. Come on. You got to beat those Virginia bastards. You can do it. You can do it. I have faith in you. Wait a minute. Yes, I just heard that they're going to. Okay. Bobby Hall says, Dave, if they make a sequel to Halloween 2018, do you want it to have a similar look, or should it have more of a grainy film look with a bluish tint and darkness scenes like the original? Well, what David Gordon Green and his director of photography established, I think, should be carried over. I think there are certain things you can do, definitely, to make it your own, but stylistically, you don't want to stray too far away from the foundation for which you've established. I mean, that's what they established, and that's what made $250-something million at the box office. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to want to at least, but that doesn't mean that you can't put your characters and the shape in locations and situations where you can utilize maybe some of those original ideas and gimmicky things to help really bring it to the next level. But overall, I think it should still sort of feel like the movie you're coming from, at least at a base level, at the very least. Anyway. Let's see here. Joseph Wells says, "Sup, Dave?"
Sup, Joseph? What's going on, man? What's happening, man? What's happening?
The Film Addict, greatest comeback movie for an actor. For me, it's Keaton in Birdman. Ooh, yeah, you got to say Keaton, Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. I mean, that was fucking... Because he came from being arrested and on drugs, and as far as I know, Keaton didn't come from that. Sly as well. I mean, Sly has always been sort of one-dimensional in terms of the movies he does. But there was a time there for about 10, 12, maybe even 13 years that Sly was doing fucking, and then Rocky Balboa in 2006 sort of changed that. And then he had Rocky Balboa, and then, of course, Rambo in 2008, and then The Expendables, and then, so that's, it's something. Arnold never really came back, unfortunately. He's so iconic that there's certain actors that become so iconic that even when they're gone, it's like they're there still. And Arnold is one of those characters. And also, he didn't just go away. He was the governor of California for 8 years. So, I mean, he was still in the news and the pop culture anyway, even if he wasn't making movies. So, but unfortunately, when he came back and he did The Last Stand, which I actually thought was pretty good, he's never been able to sort of really come back. I mean, because Arnold, for the most part, was, I mean, he didn't keep in the kind of shape, I mean, he's still big. I mean, if he was to walk into the room right now, he's still a big dude. I mean, I hope I look like him when I'm, 72, but certainly he's a fraction of what he used to be, naturally. So, I mean, he's so identified with being that kind of guy that, unfortunately, but, yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a few actors that have made returns, but it's tough. I mean, you could say Mark Hamill a little bit, but he's not starring in any other movies per se. You know what I mean? The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi helped make Mark Hamill relevant again, but didn't necessarily propel. I know he's doing Chucky, okay, but it hasn't necessarily made him, getting where he's the lead all of a sudden again, like it did for Sly or Robert Downey Jr. But even Robert Downey Jr., okay, yes, he's had a comeback, but it's just Iron Man. When Robert Downey Jr. tries to do other things, nobody gives a fuck about him. Nobody goes to see his movies. It's like that movie he did with, what's his face there? The Judge, whatever. Nobody gave a fuck about that movie. And that doesn't mean it's not a good movie, but nobody gave a fuck about it. So did Robert Downey Jr. have a comeback? Well, he did, but it's really just Iron Man. And then you have to say, well, is it really Robert Downey Jr. or is it the ensemble cast? I mean, you got to think about that, right? And same with Michael Keaton. Well, yeah, he came back and he did Birdman, but what else has he done? I mean, yes, he came back and he was nominated, I believe, for an Academy Award even. I think, anyway. But, it's kind of like, there are people that can have comebacks that are one-offs, and then there are people that can have comebacks and it's like it's rejuvenated their career or something. It's tougher as you get older, man. Great shit show. Do more. You're right, Chris. I should. Let's see. It's 9:28. It's 9:28. Holy snap and crap. It's 9:28, folks. I have yet to do my Where Is Everybody From? Let's do it right now. Where is everybody from? Let me know. Where are you guys? And be honest. I know some people are going to say the moon, and Haddonfield. And you can say those things. The UK, Columbus, Ohio, Wisconsin. I'm from Ontario, Indiana, Alabama, Sherlock Holmes, Louisville, Kentucky, New York, Buffalo, New York, Nashville, Virginia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Louisiana, Hertfordshire, UK, Buffalo, New York, just down the road from me, essentially. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Haddonfield, you son of a bitch. Los Angeles, Hamilton, the Hammer, Ontario. I'm from Ontario. Yes, you are, Michelle. Let's see here. State College, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Music City, baby. That's got to be, well, that's Music City. That's got to be Nashville, right? If I'm not mistaken. Chicago. Let's see, Sweden, 3:30. It's 3:30 in the morning, and we got Tommy Ricknell from Sweden just watching. Tommy, you're amazing. Crystal Lake, Hamilton, Scotland, Orlando, Florida, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Maryland. Hey, Dave, go Leafs. Yeah, that's right. My Sabres certainly aren't making the fucking playoffs. Christ. I'm from Houston, Texas. Hashtag Texas forever. Woo! Texas! That's awesome. It's so wonderful to see where everybody is from. I think you guys are awesome. Gotham City! Oh, you're from Gotham? Pensacola, Florida, Oklahoma. Bobby Hall says, hey, Dave, my mom was born in Toronto and I'm half Canadian. Did you not tell me that at the convention, Bobby? If it's the same Bobby I'm thinking of. I think you may have. Maybe you didn't. If you didn't, that's really cool. That's really cool. She was born in Toronto. That's awesome. Yeah, Toronto's a great city. Toronto, for those of you that have not been to Toronto, Toronto's the 4th largest city in North America. And we got, it's huge. I mean, it's not as big as New York, obviously, but you come to Toronto and you're like, wow, I feel like I'm in New York, or I feel like I'm in Chicago, or it's huge. And great city, great vibe, great energy. If you guys have been following me for a while, I posted a few videos on my channel of me downtown. I should do another one. It's time for one of those. Great shit. So I highly recommend, if you're going to come to Canada, you can come to Toronto. You won't be disappointed. Aaron Keller, North York, Ontario. Yes, that's right. Chris Baber is back because he's from Richmond, Virginia. I'm out. Peace, Chris. Richmond, Virginia, folks. It's awesome. Yeah, it's just so great. It's so great to see. I always get a kick out of doing these live streams to see where everybody from around the world is watching me. And what's even more amazing is that I'm not doing this stream with my glasses and I can actually read everybody's. That's also because I have a 32-inch monitor in front of me, so that probably helps. My monitor's huge. Okay, Denver, Colorado. Let's see here. Anything else I wanted to show you? I don't have anything immediately at my disposal. Yeah. All right, let's get back to some fucking questions. Let's get to some questions. We'll go a little bit longer here. Stay just a little bit longer. Please, won't you stay? That was awful. Yeah, hey. Remember, folks, for those of you that are just tuning in, earlier in the stream I said, imagine if you woke up in the middle of the night and you heard something creepy outside and you opened your front door and you saw this little creature come out of the bushes and he's like 3 feet tall and he's holding this fucking katana blade and he's like, come get me. And he runs off into the bushes. I'm telling you right now, for those of you that are going to go to bed tonight, that's what you're going to be thinking about. You're going to be thinking about a little creature in the middle of the night. And then you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to having a dream about that. And you're going to think to yourself, damn it, Dave. It's like when Seinfeld goes, Newman. You're going to go, Dave. That's what's going to happen. I love you guys. You guys are funny. Let's see here. Justin Passato, your channel is awesome. Love your live streams and your intro is hardcore. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. And I don't need to do drugs or drink coffee to get into this zone. High on life. Consider these live streams and my videos your prescription to be high on life. Because you know what? There might be people in the chat right now that are going through a lot of stuff. And there might be people in the chat right now that are down, they're feeling down, and there's something going on. Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe you lost a girlfriend. Maybe you lost a boyfriend. Maybe there's something going on at work. There's something weighing on your mind, and all I got to say for each and every one of you is just stay strong, stay vigilant. It's not easy. It's not easy, but you can get through this. And the most important thing you can do to get through difficult times like that, and I'm serious now, is to surround yourself with people that care about you, that people that can listen to you. Surround yourself with people that give you that understanding and that positive vibe. It's not going to take it all away, but it's going to make the process as you work through whatever it is you're working through that much easier. Not easy, but easier. Because you know what? There's 146 people. There's got to be somebody, even, a few of you in there that are going through a lot. I get it, man. I understand. So if I can make your days and your evenings just a little bit happier, then that's my honor to do that. So, yeah. All right. Let's see here. Brandon Gregory says, can you recommend a good doctor to get high on life? I am your doctor. I will write you a fucking prescription right now. Where the hell? I need a piece of paper here. Paper down here. There we go. I'm writing you a little prescription. This is your prescription. Everybody's prescription right now. Yes, that's right. Let's see here. I'm writing your prescription right now. All right, you see that? There's your prescription, folks. You are high. You are high on life. And I will sign it right now. This is my real signature. There you go. I have officially signed it. So you take that and enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you got to do. I sound like a preacher, like I should have my own church. Oh, man. Logan Dakari, thank you, Logan, for the super chat, says, what would you do with a remake of Phantasm? Oh, I don't know, because it's been so long since I've seen Phantasm. I think Phantasm came out the year I was born. Wasn't it like 79 or something? It's been a long time since I've seen it. So to answer that question off the cuff would be very difficult to do, because I'd have to go back and watch the original and sort of see how I feel about it again. I haven't seen it. I remember seeing it years ago. I know it's so funny. It's like my thing I always say, I saw it years, but it's true. There's a lot of older films I haven't seen in a long time that I got to go back and watch. So, but that's a really good question, though. I like that. Let's see here. Anthony Walls, what about Pokemon with Ryan Reynolds? You know what? Pokemon is not of my generation. So I didn't get into Pokemon. I don't give a frog's fat ass about Pokemon. If you love Pokemon, that's okay, because you are now high on life, ladies and gentlemen. That literally went behind my desk. Great. I gotta fucking get that out with a ruler or something. Hey, so yeah, I don't really care about it. But if you do and you're excited about it, then like when I watch the trailer, I have no perspective on what anything is and what the characters are, if that's cool or shitty. I don't know. I like Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian guy. I like him, and I'll watch pretty much anything he's in because I think he's really funny, but I have really no interest in seeing Pokemon. I just don't care. It's not my generation, you know? I mean, by the time Pokemon came out, I was really well into my 20s. So, okay, let's see here. Aaron Zakowski says, do you believe in ghosts? Well, I've talked about this briefly on my channel before. I will say this. I believe, and this is in line with sort of the feature film that I'm in development on, I believe that there is enough circumstantial evidence at the very least that something may survive the death process. And I think the answer to that is learning more about consciousness and the seed of consciousness, and whether or not consciousness and the brain or mind are separate from each other. Does the brain produce consciousness? It is believed that it does, but in actuality, I don't know if you guys know this, there really is actually no scientific evidence that says definitively that the brain actually does. It's believed that it does for a multitude of reasons, and some very persuasive. But there's also some persuasive scientific evidence that shows that it may not. So when we talk about ghosts, it runs much deeper for me. So I'll just leave it at that. I believe that something could survive the process of death, yes. What it is, I don't know. But it might be something. Okay, let's see here. Anthony Wall says Dr. Giggles. That's a great name. I don't know what you're referring to, but for some reason I feel like I need to go.
Oh, hello, I'm Dr. Giggles. Why don't you come in? Now, what is it you want, dearie?
Dearie, huh?
What is it you want?
Well, I was just wondering if I could have a bit of that potion over there.
Oh, you want this potion, do you?
Can you imagine how annoying that would be? But that would be a great character to play. I was fortunate enough. I actually, it's too bad. I was in production about a year and a half ago on a cartoon that was hopefully going to get picked up by Nickelodeon. And it was for younger kids. It was like between 3 and 10 or something like that. But we had already done the first season. And it was recorded right here in Toronto. And I played several different characters. And this is a bit of behind-the-scenes drama that sometimes happen. I will leave the project nameless because I don't want to sort of call it out. Because I still don't know definitively what's going to happen, so I'll leave it nameless for now. But it was a cartoon that I was a part of, and I was doing about 4 or 5 different voices. And we had done the first season, and the producers, I thought the animation looked fine, but apparently they pulled out. And the company that was doing all of the animation was left kind of like, what the fuck? Like, we had an agreement, and it was this huge thing. And the producers that were producing it pulled out, which left the animation company high and dry, and we did 1 season. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, I don't know what is going on. That was a year. Now, it had nothing to do with the voiceovers, like myself and the other voice actors that were doing all of the characters. Apparently they loved it. Oh yeah, no, you guys did a great job. It was the animation that they weren't crazy on. Now, I saw bits and pieces of the animation when I was actually in the booth doing the voiceover work, and some of it was raw, some of it was incomplete, but it looked great. It looked fine. It looked like anything you'd see on Nickelodeon or whatever it is, right? So that's a little unfortunate. But the point that I'm trying to make is that during that, there were so many characters I was playing, and you sweat buckets. You ask Mark Hamill, do you sweat in the booth when you do the Joker? When you're in the booth and you're doing the Joker, do you sweat? And I guarantee you, he'll say, oh yeah. Most animation voice actors sweat buckets because you're performing, right? You are playing a character. It's not about your voice. It's about the character that you're bringing to life. The voice is only part of it. And when I was doing this series, which unfortunately just got kind of shelved, that was my first time. I've done some animation, but that was my first time actually working like that, because I was playing so many. Oh my God, I was sweating buckets. I could feel the sweat on my back, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking gross. And I had to go home and have a shower. But you were really getting into it, and I was like, what? I was doing all sorts of crazy characters. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it got shelved, and I have no idea what happened. And it was because it was going to go to Nickelodeon Kids, I think, was their aim. And Nickelodeon Kids was really excited about it. And so, yeah, and I haven't heard. Like, I haven't officially heard from the casting director and my agents whether it's been completely shelved and they're not doing it anymore, which is the only reason why I haven't said anything. Even though it's been a year and a half, listen, the entertainment industry is crazy. Sometimes things can be shelved, like, well, I guess nothing's happened. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's back on. And you're like, oh, shit, it's been like 3 years and we're doing it? Oh, my God. Shit like that happens, right? So that's why I don't want to say anything about what it was yet, because it still might happen, maybe? I don't know. Fingers crossed. But, yeah, crazy shit. Too bad, because that would have been a lot of fun. That would have been a lot of fun. And if you got kids between the ages of, like, 3 and 10, they would have fucking loved it. Too bad. Nature of the business, folks. Nature of the business. It's never personal. Not unless I told the producer to fuck off, which I don't and I never do. That's not smart to do that. Chris Lopez says, do you like the actor Brandon Fraser? Funny you say that, because The Mummy was just on TV a couple of days ago. I'm indifferent to him. I don't not like him, but I don't like him. It's just like, you know, whatever. I don't know. Don't really care. Let's see. Archie Riverdale says, what do you think of the reboot of Child's Play? Don't know if y'all talked. Don't know if y'all. Haha, you must be from the South. You don't know if y'all talked about that yet. I just came in. Mark Hamill is playing the voice of Chucky, I think. Yes, Archie, I have a video on my channel right before this live stream. It's about 20 minutes long, and I talk all about that. So you can check that out if you want. Movie Chat and More says, favorite scene from Planes, Trades, and Automobiles. Oh, man. There's so many. There's so many. Okay. I have a few, one of which is one that probably is, people don't think of this, but I really like just the way John Candy says it. Another great Canadian guy. Oh, John Candy, legend. Anyway, so he's sitting at the diner with Steve Martin, and Steve Martin is talking about how he hasn't been, how he's going to miss his daughter's Thanksgiving recital, or like, you know, whatever it is, right? And it's the way Del Griffith, because he's this he's lovable in the end, right? But you know how he's supposed to be this obnoxious blowhard, right? And he's there, and it's just, it seems so pretentious. He's got his fork. I don't have a fork, obviously. I got a pen here. But he's there, and he's just like, you missed it. I'm sorry. Those are the precious moments too, or, you know, something like that. And he's like, they don't come back again. You know, I just laugh every time. It's so like, thanks, Del. Thanks. They don't come back again. Yeah, you fucking suck. You know, it was so funny to me. But of course, the those aren't pillows scene. I like the obviously on the plane when he's like, Del Griffith, American Light and Fixture, shower curtain ring division. Shower curtain ring division. Fucking hilarious, man. The way he's just like, he pulls out his wallet and I don't know, my wallet here has a little card here, and he's like, Del Griffith, American Light and Fixture, shower curtain ring division, best in the world. You know, it's just like, it's just fucking funny. You know, most of the funny shit happens with him, but of course that classic one with Steve Martin where he's like, I want a fucking car right fucking now. Fucking love it. Love it. It is definitely my favorite John Candy movie, and one of my favorites, if not my favorite comedy of all time. That, The First Vacation, and Stripes, and the first Ghostbusters, even though it's not really a full-on comedy, those are some of my favorite comedies of all time. All right, what do we got here? Let me scroll back. $1 super chat from I don't know who. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Bay Ken says, Us or US? I haven't seen Us yet. I haven't seen it. If I do, and it, like I said, when I see it, and if it affects me a certain way where I want to talk about it, you'll be the first to know. Not you, but you all. All right, what do we got? Scrolling back here. Let's see. Thoughts on Dumbo? I haven't seen Dumbo. And I probably won't see Dumbo. I'll probably catch it on Netflix when I'm sick and bored and I need something to watch or something. Let's see here. Brandon Gregory says, did you ever see Due Date? It was a sort of a modern remake of Planes, Trades. I have not, but I do know the movie you're talking about. Michael Plays. Ooh, Plays is with a Z. Ooh, you rebel, Michael. You rebel. Michael Plays Game says, hey, Dave, just watched your latest vid. Outstanding. Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Riz Official says, I love you. Well, I love you. I love you too. I love you. I love you. I love you. Sorry, that was bad. Let's see here. Total Eclipse 518 says, interesting, intensely angry Loomis voice, please. Intensely angry Loomis voice. Okay. Let's see here. Intensely angry Loomis voice. Well, we got to go to the, hang on. Let me see if I get, because I got to make sure I get it right here. So let's go to, all right, let me see if I can get this quote here. I want to make sure I get this. Ba, 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 ba. So I read it right. I don't want to miss anything. Okay. Here we go. All right. 6 bodies, Sheriff! That is what I've seen between here and Ridgemont! A filling station in flames! I'm telling you, Michael Myers is here in this town! He's here to kill that little girl and anyone who gets in his way! That's basically the intensity he has. All right. I'm fucking done! It's more like... funny shit. He's so intense in the 6 bodies, Chef. But it's great though, because it's such an arc for his character, right? Because in the original Halloween, when he's sort of doing the same thing with Sheriff Brackett, which is, he's trying to convince that there's something really going on, he's calm, cool, and collected. But now in Halloween 4, he's basically, I'm fucking with you, you fucker! And that's what he does. So he's intense. He's intense, 100%. Where are we here? All right. Chillin' Like a Villain. I haven't seen the Halloween 2018 movie yet. Probably wait to see it on DVD. How sad is that? It's not sad. I mean, maybe there's... do you have a reason why you haven't? Are you nervous? Are you holding off? Are you just not a big Halloween fan, but you're a horror fan? And maybe you're just like, I'll get around to it. It's like, Dave, have you seen... I haven't seen... Yeah, there's lots of movies I haven't seen that are sort of... Everybody's seeing, you know what I mean? So, don't fret. Don't fret, my little Smurf. Let's see here. Logan Dakari says, thoughts on John Wick? I really like it. I like the first one. I'm looking forward to the third one. Super Saiyan Ryu? Am I saying that right? Probably not. Hey, Dave, have you ever noticed this Halloween 2 inspired scene in the movie Cobra? Have you ever noticed the Halloween 2 inspired scene in the movie Cobra? I have not. What scene? The Halloween 2 inspired scene? You mean a scene in Cobra that was inspired by Halloween 2, right? Because Cobra came out after Halloween 2. So, I haven't seen Cobra in a while. What scene are you referring to? Let me know. I want to know, man. Donald Pleasance was drunk. Well, you know what? What's funny enough is by Halloween 5, Daniel Harris is on record as saying that whenever I had to get close to Donald Pleasance, I could smell alcohol in his breath. The dude was fucking lit. He was fucking lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, you know what? And with the shit that was rolling out with Halloween 5, I'd probably be drinking too, to be honest with you. Holy fuck, man. Fucking Christ. All right. Oh, this is good. This is a good live chat. How have you guys felt about the chat so far? Have you guys felt good about this live stream, this impromptu live stream? Because, these things sometimes are not planned, but sometimes I like to get online and just talk away. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. Jim Welch says, you're in rare form tonight, Dave. Laughing my ass off. Rare form, you say? Or just my usual? Rare form. Well, you see, it's easier to be crazy and fun and outgoing and show a side to my personality that I otherwise wouldn't necessarily show in videos all the time, because in videos I have an agenda, right? And there's specific information and a specific goal that I have to get out and that I'm trying to achieve. So for me to break that up with and doing all crazy shit would be crazy. I mean, it'd just be insane, right? There'd be no sense of coherency anywhere. But when we get to do live streams, I'm just answering questions. So I can show off a bit of my personality and a bit of the voices I can do and all that kind of shit, and it's fun. One of my favorite voices to do is the old man voice. And I have like this old man and this old lady. They're an old married couple. And I've been doing it for years. So and they're crude. It's like, hey, excuse me, Betty, where the fuck is my onion?
Well, Harold, why don't you come here and get it, you little freak?
I'm gonna kick your ass, you son of a bitch! Fucking fun to do that shit. And I was able to do that for some animation. Not like that, but that old man voice, I was able to bust out for some animation, and it was a lot of fun. But my old lady is clearly a man.
But when you go up here like this, and you talk like, hello, well, okay.
You know, it just, you get the idea that, oh yeah, that's clearly like old lady territory, even though it's clearly a man's voice, right? So, yes. But then, of course, you can dial it down and not be so vulgar and be a little more genuine, right? So it's kind of like, yes, I think that I was at the store and I was drinking some pop. One of the hardest things about creating characters is it's not about the voice, it's about creating a character. So you have to laugh like, how does my old man sound when he's angry? How does my old man sound when he's crying? How does my old man sound when he's laughing, right? It's not just about, all right, hey, you little bastard. It's not just about doing that. I have to create a whole person, right?
And it's the same with a woman. Hello, yes, Harold, it's for you.
You know, and then maybe that's something that character does every time she calls for him, right?
Harold, it's for you!
And that becomes part of the character. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's trial and error kind of shit, right? So it's fun to build on characters and create original characters that you can implement and audition and use. And like I said, I booked a couple of animation shit with doing that voice. Actually, I for those of you that are familiar with Fireman Sam, which is a British show, I was hired to play Gareth Griffiths on the US version of that for Amazon Prime. And the American company that was redubbing everything, I think they should have just kept, this probably doesn't sound very good because I'm glad to be paid as an actor, but they should have just kept the original voices. I think they were fine, but they were worried that it wouldn't resonate with an American audience in terms of children. So they wanted to hire American voices, which is hilarious because obviously I'm a Canadian, but it's the North American voice. And I was hired to play Gareth Griffiths and Fire Chief Boyce. And with Gareth, they wanted an older man because he was an older man. So instead of going, all right, you fucker, I mean, I can't exactly do that on Fireman Sam, but I was able to use this voice. So it was really cool because I auditioned, I said, and they're like, well, can you do something that's kind of like up here? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. You know, so now the outtakes, on the other hand, are funny. We'll just leave it at that. All right, let's see here. That guy says, Dave, have you ever watched The Room? Is that the one with Brie Larson? I haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix. My girlfriend and I were going to watch that a couple of weeks ago, and we didn't for some reason. We watched something else. I forget what it was. Something piqued our interest. We're like, oh, no, let's watch that instead. And we never came back to it. If it's the one I'm thinking of, then no, I haven't yet. Logan Dakari says, thank you for the super chat, Logan. Going to bed. Do you have a zombie plan? A zombie plan? Oh, you mean like in case there's a zombie attack? Oh, fucking right I do. I'm like, fucking, I'm ready to go. I am ready. Look at this. Look at this fucking thing here. I got this. I got the fucking sword ready to go. I got a machete right here. Look at this. I am ready. Check out this. Look at this. Look at this. I am ready to go. Any fucking zombies, and with this hood on and everything, I am zombie proof. Any fucking zombies come to my door, and it's done. It's done. I'm telling you. I can't spin that in this room, but I'm telling you. Imagine the sword in my hand and the machete in my hand right now. I'd be like, that's what I'd be doing. That's literally what I'd be doing. So yeah, I'm fucking ready for it. Okay, let's see here. We'll take a couple more questions, then we'll call it a night. We've been going on for 2.5 hours, ladies and gentlemen. 2.5 hours. Fucking amazing. Love you guys. Okay, Robert Nickerson says, Dave, why do you think the horror genre is looked down upon during award season? Horror is generally treated as a subpar genre. Every genre has good and bad films, but horror gets overlooked. Thank you for the question, Robert. I think it's because I think traditionally horror, the reason why it's tends to be looked down upon is because when people think of horror movies, there is a blanket of there's misconceptions that horror essentially means A Nightmare on Elm Street, blood, guts, and gore, because it rose to such prominence in the 1980s. A new generation of horror, like there's before Halloween and then after Halloween. You could also say before The Exorcist and after The Exorcist, or before. There's the 70s on, and then there's the 70s back, right? And horror was very different. And especially through the 1980s, because of the rise of Jason and Freddy and blood, guts, and gore and all these, and Scream. When you say horror, there's a stereotype. Even though there are many subgenres of horror, horror is actually the one genre of film that has the most subgenres. There's psychological horror, there's paranormal, there's possession, there's slasher. There's and then there's subgenres to the subgenres. So it's a stereotype that needs to be removed. I don't believe you will ever see a slasher film get nominated for an Oscar. Full on slasher like Halloween. It's not going to happen. And primarily because when it comes to the Oscars, they're looking for movies that move people a certain way in terms of themes, messages, underlining layers, because making those kinds of movies is extremely difficult, and to make them successfully is extremely difficult. A lot of filmmakers cut their teeth on horror because it's the easiest to make. That doesn't mean it's easy to make a horror movie, but the subject matter is easy. And you have the most fun doing because you're relying on certain things that, you don't get so caught up in the drama and the dialogue and the themes and the overt sort of layers and of just a full on straight slasher movie. Right? Because it has a beginning, a middle, and end. It has an A, it has a Z or a Z for my American friends. And that's sort of what it's linear. Psychological films tend to be a little more revered because they take a certain level of understanding of history, of the human psyche, of psychology and sociology, and the subconscious. And to be able to penetrate and affect people in a certain way, you have to have a certain level of understanding about those things to be able to execute those things in a way that really affects people when they watch a movie. Slasher films, you don't have to do that. So if a horror movie is going to win an Oscar one day, and I think it will be there will be some psychological component to it. I mean, look at Get Out. Right? Look at Us. It will be that kind of a horror movie that probably ends up winning an Oscar. You're not going to see Child's Play win an Oscar. Now, you might see Child's Play get nominated for, Best Visual Effects or Best Practical Effects, or even though there isn't a category for Best Practical Effects, but I just mean because they used a lot of practical effects, you may see them get nominated because it was really cool what they did, but you're not going to see Child's Play get nominated for Best Picture. And if you do, it will be probably because there is a strong psychological component to it that just is so awesome, the way it transitioned and the way things went and everything, so that's generally why, okay, is because of that's why. I mean, I was going to go on and on, but that's the ballpark version of to why. So hopefully that answered at least some of your question. Okay. Yeah, we'll answer a few more. Kylo Fleming says Child's Play would be hilarious if it was nominated for Best Picture. Yeah, well, hey, yeah, anything's possible, especially when they've got 10 nominations now. Personally, I think that's way too much. Mark Seaver says, favorite restaurant, Dave. Favorite restaurant? I gotta say, when do you guys got the Sunset Grill in the U.S.? Do you have the Sunset Grill in the U.S.? Let me know if the Sunset Grill is in the U.S. If they're a restaurant. They're like It's a breakfast place. It's open from like 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's kind of like a Cora's. Do you guys have a Cora's? Maybe that's Canadian too. Somebody answer. If not, that would kind of be it. I don't really have a favorite. Like if you're asking fast food chain, I would probably say Harvey's, which is Canadian. But I would say American. I'd probably say Wendy's. All right, we'll take 2 more questions, ladies and germs. 2 more questions. Drum roll. What will the 2 questions be? What will the 2 questions be? Let's see here. Let's see if I can answer from somebody who hasn't got one. Here we go. H2 Finest says, can you name a movie where it was mostly ruined by the ending for you? For me, movies like Silent House, Secret Window, and Hide and Seek were ruined or mostly tainted by their respective endings. I disagree. I actually think the strengths of Hide and Seek's ending was terrific. It was the reveal. I think it might have ruined it for you because you were like, oh, that's what's going on? Can understand that because it's a certain type of kind of, thing. It's very much kind of like, but it's like I loved the others and the ending and the bait and switch. It's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? When it's done well, really well, and you don't see it coming, it can be very effective. But is there a movie that the ending ruined it for me? Just a movie that I watched. No, not a. Was it a movie I watched? Movie. Okay, a movie that I watched with the ending. I was like, meh. The ending. Fuck. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Immediately anyway. That's a great question, man. I'm really sorry. I can't. I'll say this because I want to give you an answer to something. Okay. I'm not a big gamer really, but I do have a PS4 and my girlfriend and I were playing that game Limbo. Do you guys know that game? It's the game where it's all done in black and white and this little character who kind of looks like me, by the way. It's hilarious. Is in limbo and you have to solve all sorts of puzzles and it's just this black and white. It's against the backdrop of like silhouette and you have to start. You have to solve all these puzzles because you're in limbo trying to find your sister who supposedly is also in limbo. And there's a lot of symbolism in there and it's a really cool game. And it took us forever to beat the game because obviously the further you go along, the harder and harder things get. And is it a Sims character? No, it's not a Sims character. It's an actual game. Well, it might be a Sims character. I don't know. But it's not. It has nothing to do with the Sims. It's a game called Limbo. And it's a really cool game. And if you like challenges and solving puzzles of how to get out of shit and things like that, and it's quiet, there's no music, it's just the elements because you're in these weird, creepy, swampy locations. It's a really cool game. But by the end of the game, you find your sister, and there's a lot of symbolism around of what it could mean. Oh, maybe it's not really what I thought was going on or whatever. But then it just kind of ends. And you're like, oh, like, you expected with all the work you had to do that the ending would be a little more satisfying. And my girlfriend and I were kind of talking about that. Like we kind of looked at each other like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. It wasn't more like we weren't expecting huge fanfare because that wouldn't have gone with the tone of the game. But something just a little more to kind of make you feel a little more satisfied. So I know it's not a movie, but in the interim while I think about one, that's there's an answer there for a game. All right, let's see your last question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Last question of the night. See if I can get another buddy, another person who hasn't said anything, or hasn't, or who I haven't answered, I should say. Let's see here. This isn't a question, but that's a very nice thing to say. Luke Glanton says, Dave, you are lucky to have a friend like Bruce. Yeah, I am. He's a very great friend, loyal. I've known him for 27 years and he's awesome. Let's see here. Okay. Looking for a good one. I'm looking for a good one. What will the last question be?
I don't know. I don't know.
Shut up, you peasant!
No, no, no.
All right, let's see here. All right. Kylo Fleming says, would the Joker be a good horror character? Well, he kind of is. He kind of is, isn't he? I mean, not in the traditional sense, but he's very sadistic and manipulative and cunning, and you know, he definitely has that horror quality to him. So I'm actually very curious to see the teaser trailer tomorrow. Reminder, the Joker teaser trailer tomorrow. I'm very curious to see what that's going to be like. So I think with Joaquin Phoenix, the potentiality of this being sort of a crime, creepy kind of action drama or whatever it's going to be. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I think he could, for sure. For sure. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for me on this Tuesday, April the 2nd, 2019. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I think you guys are awesome. Again, thanks to everybody who contributed to the channel via Super Chat. Everything that this channel makes goes right back into the channel, and I really appreciate it 100%. I think you guys are awesome. I don't know when the next live stream will be, but I like doing these, so maybe I'll try and do them more often, and but we shall see. So I'm going to try. I'll watch the Joker trailer tomorrow. If I feel that it moves me a certain way, and I'm kind of, maybe I will talk about it, you know, or maybe I'll just mention it on Facebook or in a tweet or something. I don't know. So if you're not following me on my social media, you got to click the links below in the description, because that's where I post in the meantime and in between time, and I'm not posting here. So without further ado, I will talk to you guys soon. You guys are awesome. Stay creepy.